China.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Aren't I a good guy?
Jesus, I say that.
In the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay? the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay?
This is from 12 Rules for Life.
He looks good, and he looks hard.
Don't be creepy.
Wait, was I muted that whole time? Tell me I was muted. Was I muted? Did I just do that again? I think I've done that twice now, where I started a stream without even greeting you all properly. I think I should try that again. Should I try it? Should we just go into this, or should I do that again? It just feels wrong. Feels wrong. I don't like it. Good to see you all. I should redo it. All right, I'll redo it. I'll redo it. So yes, I was muted, and yes, I should do it again. Fine. We'll do a quick one. What's up, folks? You know what time it is? It's time for Doom. Take 2. Good to see all of you folks here to accompany me into this journey deep into the abyss. Buckle up, folks. Time to get started. Okay, how was that? Was that good? How did that make you feel? Scale of 1 to 10. Why does Soul Life need a doctor? Did I miss something? What's happening? I just realized I was on Top Chat. Okay. We're going to start off, as usual, in America, where a day ago, NBC Bay Area received surveillance video, showing Bay Area deputy shooting armed man in the back.
We are going to start with that video. It is disturbing, but it clearly shows a Bay Area officer shooting an armed man in the back. But whether it was justified or just a bad shooting, that's the part that's not so clear. Senior investigative reporter Begad Shaban has more.
Go! Hands up! Drop the gun! 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 I'll shoot you! Drop the gun!
A Napa County Sheriff's deputy warned he'd open fire, and less than 2 seconds later, he did, hitting an 18-year-old man in the back, who law enforcement accused of running through this Vallejo neighborhood armed with a gun.
Okay, so that's basically all I wanted to watch in this video, and I got 2 things to say about that. 1, we got way too many guns in America. We need less. If there weren't people running around with guns everywhere, we wouldn't have more gun violence. 2, that officer gave that dude about a half a second to decide to drop that gun after saying, drop the gun. And I think he could have waited a little bit longer, especially since he wasn't looking at him. But that's just my thinking. Okay, staying with gun violence, this next one is from CNN, entitled, "This U.S. city's mayor," referring to Baltimore, "is suing the ATF to get gun data." Let's hear why.
Tears, trafficking, and red tape. Tonight, I want to bring you a story of families trying to piece their lives back together after gun violence stole what is most precious from them. And the city battling against a federal agency and...
You know what? What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? You're just getting free Cisco. You're getting free Neo. Although I am recently considering replacing Neo after chat yesterday pointed out that Neo is neither related to space or time travel, which really kind of goes outside of our thematic scope.
Dynamics beyond that agency for access to what one local official calls a critical tool to crack down on the gun trafficking behind so many losses of lives. Do you feel like there are too many weapons on our streets?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where are they coming from?
Crystal Gonzalez is 18-year-old Aaliyah's mother.
She was still learning so much.
Then, July 2nd, 2023. Aaliyah Gonzalez was one of 2 people killed in a mass shooting on this South Baltimore block in July of 2023. 30 people were shot in total, 2 of them killed after what police say were exchanges of gunfire. Gonzalez remembers finding her daughter's body at the scene.
And I just turned and I looked and I knew that that was her because I could see her foot. She would have called me a long time ago if there was a shooting. And the police officers are saying, ma'am, you don't want to see her like this. And I'm like, you don't know.
This is tragic.
You don't know. I need her. Oh my God, I need her. People don't know that. I need her. And the next time I saw her was at the funeral home.
It's a reality for so many Americans. A lot of the guns used in shootings like these countrywide were originally purchased legally before changing hands and being used in crimes.
Oh, good. So they were purchased legally, and then they changed hands. Oh, so you're saying that, you know, all of these, like, fanciful ways of allowing people to continue to have guns are just leading to guns still being in hands that aren't supposed to have them, supposedly. Weird. I'm so confused. So you're saying that somehow guns can be transferred from one person to the next? Huh. Well, maybe we should just stop giving people guns.
Public officials, by law, can't see exactly where these guns originate. Only law enforcement can. We're heading into
Soul Life makes a really good point. If only everybody there, including that young woman, had a gun, then we would have solved the situation. Nobody would have died. It would have been... everything would have been de-escalated by the existence of the guns.
Hall, where Baltimore's mayor is actually suing the ATF to get some of this data. It's data that he thinks can be a major piece of the public safety equation.
We don't have any gun stores here in the city of Baltimore, but there are some, you know, less than a mile outside of our jurisdiction, and we don't recover any guns on the streets of Baltimore from that particular dealer, but there are some 60, 70, 80, 100 miles away that we do. Something is wrong with that.
In 2003, Congress enacted provisions known as the TIARD Amendments, restricting access to the information the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives finds on where a gun came from. The restrictions have loosened a bit over the past 2 decades to include local police, but city and state public officials still can't access the gun trace information, even in that July 2023 Baltimore mass shooting. You know where the guns used in that shooting came from?
And in that case, not yet, but we know chances are it didn't come from Baltimore City.
2022 ATF data showed most of Maryland's crime guns didn't originate in Maryland, even if Baltimore's mayor doesn't know exactly where they came from. President Biden partly campaigned on repealing amendments like these back in 2020, but they remain in place. You feel President Biden has done enough when it comes to gun safety?
Absolutely. The biggest hindrance to the president going further is Congress.
Over 60 Democratic members of Congress have urged President Biden to direct the Department of Justice to review its interpretation of the amendments. The beef isn't necessarily with the ATF.
The ATF should share information with us, but we're also very cognizant of what reality they live in with Congress and others.
It's a dynamic.
It's a dynamic that fucking sucks, is what it is. We need to fix that dynamic ASAP. Shouldn't be some sort of hindrance to Congress and or government officials to get this kind of data. Really shouldn't be a problem. If anything, they could have shot the bullets out of the air. Yes. Like in Gettysburg or in oh crap, what's that movie with Angelina Jolie and oh god, my brain just broke. It's got like what's his name? Shia LaBeouf, I think, is in it. Who else is in that movie? and they like bend the bullets and stuff. I think that's what you're essentially saying, and I think they should do that. It's a great strategy. There's no way that goes wrong. Wanted, yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Moana Whip. Okay. Taken? No, that's not it. No, you're all just randomly guessing movies that make no sense. Well, hackers? James McAvoy. Yeah, okay. How about using a taser? Yeah, you could. You could tase them. You could tase the bullets. Okay, enough sarcasm and silliness. Gotta get these guns off the streets. Now. Next video, staying on the same topic for now. This is from 2 hours ago with Kamala Harris touring the building where the 2018 Parkland shooting happened.
When we do reflect and review, and dare I say study, what happened here at Stoneman Douglas. And we must be willing to have the courage to say that on every level, whether you talk about changing laws or changing practices and protocols, that we must do better. So part of why I'm here today is to challenge every state. Pass a red flag law. See how these leaders and
we just discussed 2 seconds ago how that's basically not a guaranteed solution, as people who've bought guns legally can hand them off to people who can't acquire guns legally for all sorts of reasons, and yeah, it's not really a solution. Although I'm not saying we shouldn't do things to stem the number of guns going on the street, but I don't think it's nearly enough.
parents, through their advocacy born out of tragedy, have changed some of the laws in this state, including on that issue.
Is this quiet
to the
for people?
betterment of everyone. The second reason I am here is to announce that today I am launching the National Resource Center for Red Flag Laws. In this National Resource Center,
I love you, Chad. Okay, you're all the greatest in my book. Kapaganda herself. Kamala isn't Kamala for nothing. Okay. I think that's enough of that one. Moving forward. We're heading into like health related issues in the United States. This first video, I think we'll start with this one. Yeah. This is from ABC News, where residents of, oh shit, I forget the name of the county now. They say it in the video, and somehow it's left my brain. We'll figure that out in a second. But they sound the alarm over dangers of potentially toxic gas, and this details a number of symptoms they've been having, including a great number of cancers popping up in this area.
Tonight, some families say their health has been threatened for years by something they can't even tell is there. The federal government has just released stricter air toxic standards for facilities that use the gas ethylene oxide, which is essential for keeping America's medical equipment sterile and safe. But some who've lived for years near ETO treatment plants fear the damage may already have been done.
Memphis, the city of kings.
Ah, yeah.
When Martin died, Elvis lived. And the blues and barbecue were part of a family's bloodline. But this is South Memphis. And here residents say there's a possible hidden threat infiltrating their community.
So this is ground zero. So all these houses here, This is how close it is.
And these houses are less than a quarter mile
Exactly.
from the plant.
This lady here, that's his mother. When she has cancer, she has cancer. You know about that sterilization company right behind us, right here?
Vera Holmes' family has lived in Memphis for generations.
I appreciate you.
She's a hometown college basketball star.
By the way that guy looked, hold on. The way that guy just looked when she said that, it did not look like he knew. She's like, hey, you know about this? He's like, what? No, I don't know anything about that.
Cancer, she has cancer. You know about that sterilization company right behind us, right here?
Vera Holmes' family has lived in Memphis for generations.
I appreciate you.
She's a hometown college basketball star who became a local businesswoman.
We definitely want you to come to the meeting.
Now turned activist.
I want to make sure that we protect you and my mom and all the other seniors here.
Her mission, she says, is to sound the alarm about ethylene oxide, or ETO.
You can see it from here.
It's colorless, at times odorless, difficult to contain, and even more difficult to detect. It's been escaping as emissions out of a facility just outside their doorsteps. And people in this neighborhood fear it may be threatening their lives. But it's essential for sterilizing medical equipment. Ventilators, syringes, catheters are all treated with it. America's hospitals rely on ETO to prevent infections and ensure patient safety. You can see it in use here at an ad for a company called Medline.
The ethylene oxide, or EO, is injected into the chamber.
According to the FDA, half of the sterile medical devices used every year in our country, around 20 billion, are treated with ETO.
Ethylene oxide is the most widely used, safe and effective, scientifically proven modality for medical device sterilization, not only in the United States, but worldwide.
So as you can see, it's not an easy solution. I don't know if you're already picking up on that. But the fact is if it's used in such a wide number of applications in terms of sterilization for medical equipment, it's clearly not something that's going to go away. Just or unless we come up with another solution, right?
Sore. While there's no risk to doctors and their patients using devices sterilized with ETO, the gas is a known carcinogen, and breathing it in over time increases the risk of some cancers, including lymphoma, leukemia, stomach, and breast cancers. There are 88 facilities located all across the country, 32 states and Puerto Rico. And in August 2022, the EPA announced a list of 23 of them whose emissions...
Wait. You got ahead of me here. Okay, I think that's the full graph. Wow. So these are the number of commercial sterilizer sites where it's being, wow. I believe manufactured, I think is what they're saying. Wow. Southern California. And like basically most of Florida minus the Panhandle, northern Georgia. I think that's where Atlanta is, isn't it? I think this is like Charlotte, Raleigh area, North Carolina, South Carolina. Then New Jersey is just filled with them. New Jersey just appears to be one big commercial sterilizer site. Good God. Okay.
And in August 2022, the EPA announced a list of 23 of them whose emissions...
Oh, Styx Dragon is making a great point. I too love the maps that pretend that Hawaii and Alaska don't exist. I honestly didn't even catch it because I'm just so used to them doing it. But yeah, where's Alaska and where's Hawaii? Nowhere, because they don't exist.
Contributed to elevated lifetime cancer risk for people living nearby with long-term exposure. The federal government...
It's not great.
Contributed to elevated lifetime cancer risk for people.
Oh, they remembered Puerto Rico. So maybe there just wasn't any in Alaska or Hawaii. Perhaps that's the case. Because if they've included Puerto Rico in here, I just noticed it just now. then maybe they've accounted for everything and there's just no sites in either place.
Living nearby with long-term exposure. The federal government now cracking down on ETO emissions. And it's become a flashpoint for neighborhoods like Vera's in Tennessee.
South Memphians say local health leaders are not doing enough for residents who may have been exposed to a cancer-causing chemical.
The racial...
Okay, so you're from Hawaii and you live in Alaska, so you just live in the forgotten states, is that what you're saying? Are you planning on retiring in Puerto Rico? Anyway, this thing is like about 15 minutes long, so we're gonna move slightly ahead to about, where is it? Like right around here. Maybe we should listen to this guy? No, screw him. Actually, no, let's listen to him as well. So I'm just gonna move ahead a few minutes and we will pick it back up.
Of plants like Midwest sterilization, because all the sterilization kits from all over the country and the world, up to 40% of all the nation's sterilization kits come here to be sterilized.
There are schools within just a few miles of Midwest.
In this particular area, we also know that there's studies that show that 10 of our schools locally are in the top 1% exposure to toxic emissions. So that's really problematic because out of all the schools in the United States, we have 10 in the top 1%. This is really a crisis for us at this point.
Many of the people in this community are already disadvantaged.
Laredo is a 95% Hispanic population. We have one of the highest poverty rates in the state.
We are here tonight because we are concerned about a specific type of air pollution here in Laredo.
In 2022, the EPA also visited Laredo to raise awareness.
I'll get that one. You want to get this one?
Yes.
We're just going to leave.
But for years, local activists Sheila Cerna and Tricia Cortez have taken it upon themselves to get the word out.
Is the map just where it's in use? No, I believe the maps are where the sterilization facilities are.
Got the flyers.
And
got the
well,
flyers,
there was the first map was
English,
where
Spanish.
the facilities are, and then the second map was where the most danger it posed on the community, I think it was, or something to that effect.
The people in this neighborhood live just minutes from Midwest. And many said they had no idea the plant was there.
No lo he escuchado. La primera vez que escucho que se está pues distribuyendo o tirando al medio ambiente.
We met some very interesting people today.
What is it exactly?
People that are interested in this, people who have had family members and children that have passed away from cancer.
Some people knew about the issue, others didn't, so that's what makes our work so important.
Midwest telling it.
Okay, actually, should we watch more of this? This shit is pretty fucking crazy, honestly. I think I'm gonna watch it a little bit more, chat. Unless anybody objects to it, it's just... This is nuts. And yeah, Jules is kind of right a little bit there. It does give a vibe, doesn't it?
ABC News. They've always been in compliance with the state and federal regulations and continue to be. And that our top priority is ensuring that we can continue to keep communities safe while helping to save patients' lives. We're firmly committed to doing everything possible to continue to reduce emissions and keep Laredoans safe. But now there are changes coming on a federal level. Under mounting pressure and for the first time in nearly 30 years, the EPA last week releasing new rules for commercial sterilizers that use ETO, aiming to reduce emissions by more than 90%. Facilities will have to implement major changes, including pollution control, ventilation.
Okay, these are actually really good questions, Soul Life, that you're asking. So I just looked it up. There are 5 current, as of 2019, alternative solutions that were explored by the FDA to ETO, including supercritical carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, accelerator-based radiation, vaporized hydrogen peroxide, and vaporized hydrogen peroxide ozone. And, you know, since it's the medical community, they're moving very slowly on changing out from this sort of stuff because they're concerned about contamination of things and getting ahead of themselves as often, you know, as we would. I think I don't mind a little bit of caution, but I do kind of hate what it's doing to people. It's really gross. So only, I don't, no, I'm not entirely sure. I think I need to look more into it, honestly. I just found this topic to be very much worthy of looking at. Perhaps we will take more time to really delve into it further later. But yeah, it's a little fucked. Supercritical CO2 is wild. It still needs to be vented. It sounds like something that needs to be vented. I honestly don't know. It was the first time, I think it's the first time I've ever heard of it. Okay, this next one is wild. This one is just fucking wild. Like, have you heard of Munchausen by proxy? Well, this, in my estimation, is Munchausen by proxy by a proxy. This is from ABC 6 Philadelphia, where Lehigh Valley Health Network doctor is at the center of a misdiagnosis controversy, and she has just retired.
An update tonight on an Action News investigation. Lehigh Valley Health Network doctor Deborah Ursanio Jensen will retire at the end of the month. It comes months after we first told you about several lawsuits filed against her. Families claim that the doctor falsely accused them of abusing their children and overdiagnosed cases of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. It's a rare condition in which a child's caretaker makes up fake symptoms to make the child appear sick.
Right. So if you're getting that, and if you're not familiar, Munchausen by proxy is when a parent or something like that, like a guardian, makes up symptoms to make a child look sick, to get attention and other sorts of things like that. But in this case, it was a doctor doing it to parents, and it was very weird. I just felt like we had to look at it because it was bonkers when I saw it. I was like, "What the fuck is this, dude?" I didn't think you could even make it up. But like, it's technically considered child abuse, so it does have fucking implications. Sticking with mental health, well, just health in general. Although I haven't seen any new stories on measles yet, thankfully, because I feel like we've been seeing a lot of those lately. This one is talking again about the happiness survey in America. This is CNN from 8 hours ago. Hear why this doctor thinks so many people are unhappy.
Something we can all relate to, the pursuit of health and happiness. In an emotional conversation with America's highest-ranking doctor, Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General wears his heart on his sleeve, talking about his own struggles with loneliness. He came to London for the World Happiness Summit this week, and his timing couldn't be better. The Global Mind Project claims the UK is the second most unhappy country in the world. Meanwhile, in America, a new report says that for the first time, young people there between 15 and 24 aren't as happy as their older peers. Dr. Murthy says social media silos and addictive smartphones are making us more anxious and depressed than ever. And he
Is that the predictions of life wokeness? Interesting.
wants lawmakers to step up now. Surgeon General, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
You are in England. I mean, perhaps people would be surprised to know that you're here for a happiness summit. In fact, we're talking on International Happiness Day. Why? Why is it needed? What is the problem with the deficit of happiness?
Well, the problem is that, happiness is intrinsically linked to health. When we are not feeling happy, when we're not feeling fulfilled in our lives, that affects how we show up at work, at school, in our communities. but it also ultimately has an impact on our physical health. We've now learned over the years that there's a strong connection between our mind and our body, how we feel and how we are. And the more we've learned about that, we've learned, for example, that issues like loneliness and isolation have tremendous effects in increasing the risk for both depression and anxiety, but also for heart disease, for dementia, and for premature death.
Are you surprised? And I know that you are Yorkshire born. In other words, you are a Yorkshire lad, let's say.
Yes.
Are you surprised that this country, I mean, you know, pretty close to top of the tables in the OECD nations, is the second most unhappy, depressed country in the world? Only Uzbekistan has it worse. We're just going to play a couple of sound bites.
I think a lot of people can be taken down by the weather, but coming from the US, from California to here, I love it. I made a choice to move here.
People are just getting more and more downbeat by the fact that they're not being helped by the government, market forces, etc. And I think it just, yeah, it can be really difficult. We're not that unhappy. I think the older generation is.
That's a good point. Market forces, aka capitalism, has been it's eating itself, and also just, you know, average humans.
Soon going to be happier than the younger generation.
Are you surprised?
Well, I'm deeply concerned, but I think one of the key lessons from this is that economic prosperity alone is not the key to happiness. And in fact, what we are seeing is that in many, many countries, which are increasingly modernizing in terms of their economy, their culture, etc., we're actually seeing that unhappiness is growing. And I think that's coming for a few different reasons. One of them is because we are actually pulling further and further apart from one another. With the benefits and efficiencies of modern technology and ways of life, we actually have fewer friends that we trust. We have fewer relationships we can rely on. And that is a direct impact on our happiness and well-being.
With that being said, chat, I love you all. You are all valid. And I appreciate you.
The other challenge, though, is I think technology has been a mixed blessing for us. And I think particularly when it comes to young people, the impact of social media on their mental health has often been quite negative, which is why last year I issued a Surgeon General's advisory on social media and youth mental health to point out the fact that when young people are using social media, as they often are, for more than 3 hours a day, they double their risk of anxiety and depression symptoms.
You have, in fact, gone even further.
So apparently, it's social media's fault. Not capitalism. It's all social media. That darn social media showing you news and the reality that's happening out there. Granted, there's a bunch of non-reality on social media, but let's be real. It's just access to information faster than it used to be. Okay, let's do just a little bit more of this. This is
Comparing
real
social
special.
media and the tech companies to 20th century car giants, which have produced vehicles without seatbelts and airbags until legislation mandated it. What's happening?
Wait, what? What's happening? Don't lie to you. Who's lying to you, Solid? Who's lied to you? Was it me? Did I lie? When did I do that? Alright, we're gonna move on from that. I just thought it was funny just to listen to CNN's take on why people are unhappy. It's that darn social media. It's the TikToks. It's all the dang TikToks that's making you sad. Alright, moving away from health, we're gonna go into US elections and other sorts of things. Wait, do I have this in the wrong order? Oh, you bastard. Okay, hold on. You think
Something
being,
we can all relate to.
You
The
think being
pursuit of
sad
health and happiness. In
makes
an
you use
emotional
social media more?
conversation with America's highest-ranking doctor.
Hush, Christine. Bad lip reading. Yeah, I think you might have a point. Okay, next. We are going to watch a video from the AP entitled "Some Voters Struggle to Fully Trust Election Processes in Arizona." This is from 17 hours ago. Good old Arizona.
You know, the false narratives can range.
Before we get into this, I just want to point out to everybody that I'm seeing 18 viewers right now. I think I may have seen as many as 20 already. We aren't even an hour in, but only 15 likes. Which means what? It means that you're not getting Cisco as fast as you want in this scenario. And somehow you're kicking yourself without even knowing it.
Anywhere from changing an election date, or your ballot's not going to be counted unless you do X, Y, and Z.
Those who spread false information have influenced some individuals to unlawfully threaten election officials.
Sophisticated snake oil salesmen are telling people what they want to hear in the election conspiracy vein, and that emboldens people to take action, right? Like, if someone you trusted told you that elections were being stolen, democracy being stolen, wouldn't you want to act on that?
Somebody from Iowa was arrested in connection with a threat that he made to Supervisor Hickman. Somebody in Phoenix for a threat that he made, I think, to Supervisor Gates' daughters and what he was going to do to them. Somebody in Missouri has.
I feel like, I'm not sure the exact percentage, but maybe like 30 to 40% of Arizonians Arizonites, are living in the Twilight Zone. Because it just seems like they'll believe just about anything.
Arrested for a voice message he left to me, but I put the onus on leaders to be careful with their words, because their words matter and people act on those words. And also, here's somebody who believed you, leader, and now guess what? That person's life is irrevocably changed. We're talking maybe years in prison, a record, what that does for your health, what that does for your job prospects, what that does for your family life.
All right, we're skipping past this guy because he's
still
super
doing
loud.
it well, in spite of the threats, in spite of the lies.
Although not everyone in Arizona is going after election officials, some voters are struggling to fully trust the election process.
I'm not very confident in the safety and security yet.
Probably because the leaders in Arizona and people on Fox News have been telling them that it was stolen from them. It's weird. I wonder why that's
There's no point
happening.
in you betraying
it's very
your
confusing.
future self to gratify your present self. It's a stupid game.
Okay, thank you, Jordan.
Of our elections here, especially in a state like ours with some issues, bipartisanship and such, I don't have a lot of confidence in anybody that's doing anything, really.
Way too many of the public still have doubts about the integrity of our elections. I think that existed after the 2020. I think it existed after 2022. It's still building and will continue to build until we do reasonable common sense things that allow people to verify elections and make sure that.
Oh boy.
Jesus, I say that.
Ah, God. American democracy is being hijacked by idiots. Why am I stationary in space? That's very weird. There we go. Now we're moving. That was concerning. It was very concerning. Not moving. Okay, what's next? Dude? Yeah. Okay, this is also the Associated Press. Purple Ohio? Question mark. Parties take lessons from 2023 abortion and marijuana vote.
Many have said, as Ohio goes, so goes the nation.
For more than half a century, Ohio was one of the most important states to watch during the presidential election years.
Ohio wasn't a purple state. Ohio was the purple state. For a century, running from 1912 to 2012, no state voted more consistently.
That's a long time.
For the presidential winner, and no state voted more consistently as the nation did.
But political tides have shifted in recent years. Some say former President Donald Trump helped kickstart a red wave in Ohio in 2016. His dominance was further cemented in 2020, but the state's bellwether status was undone that year when Trump became the first losing presidential candidate Ohio has supported since 1960.
The foundation was always there for Republicans to become more dominant in Ohio, but I think the Trump thing just...
Whoops, that's the wrong one. Forgot I even had that one on there. Globe Lady. Globe Lady. I need to be better at labeling these. I have too many.
Say the Buckeye State's bellwether status.
I didn't even hear what that guy said.
Just intensified that.
Why are you so quiet?
Even more so.
Other experts say the Buckeye State's bellwether status has more to do with how Americans vote today than it does about Trump's popularity.
Yeah, I heard Cinema is dropping out of the race. It's crazy. She saw the writing on the wall. Yeah, no kidding. Globes.
Ohio has a massive agriculture.
Oh, by the way, check this one out. I made this recently. As well as this one.
Cacao.
And a massive manufacturing base and regional economic diversity. So it voted a lot like America because its economy was a lot like America. You know, voting is much more demographic based today than it was, you know, even when Obama was in office. And those demographics, you know, point Ohio in a Republican direction. It's whiter than the nation. It's less educated than the nation. It's older than the nation.
Strategists say these demographics have influenced the way Democrats run statewide campaigns. They point to former Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan's run against now Senator J.D. Vance in 2022.
We've become so red of a state now that you can run as a Republican if you're a Democrat, but you're still going to...
J.D. Vance is such a tool.
But you're not going to lose as much as if you're running as a Democrat.
There are hints that the political dynamic may be shifting again after Ohio voters last year approved an amendment enshrining abortion rights in the state constitution. This happened after voters defeated a Republican-led ballot initiative that would have made it more difficult to amend the state constitution. Voters also legalized recreational marijuana in 2023.
When you put core value questions on the ballot, Ohioans are mainstream moderates to liberal. They are not hardcore conservatives. But when you put candidates on the ballot, they reliably vote Republican. It's one of the odd incongruities of politics.
The nation will see where Ohioans stand come November.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's... It's slightly... I kind of lost track with everything that's been going on. But it is nice to hear that abortion has been put into the Ohio Constitution as well. I believe we recently heard about it happening in... Fuck, was it Michigan or was it Minnesota? It was one of the northern M states. Either way, that's it's nice to hear, and hopefully, you know, they'll start voting more liberal in the future. Oh well, left. Let's avoid liberal. More left. Whoops, what am I doing? No. Okay, what's next? People keep voting against their own interests. Let's stop that. Let's stop doing that, okay? Let's really give that a shot, huh? What do you say, Chad? I don't know about you folks, but I'm done with that. This one is very short, but it's fucking ridiculous, okay? This shit is ridiculous and kind of speaks for itself, so I'm not even going... I wonder if he's going to copyright strike me for this. Either way, we're going to find that out. This is a 58-second advertisement from Representative Mark Tisdale of Michigan.
Her 2024 State of the State address, Governor Whitmer has proposed up to $2,500 in state income tax credits for the purchase of a union-made electric vehicle, or EV.
Oh,
Let's see if this makes any financial or environmental sense. 500,000 pounds of material to produce a single 1,000-pound battery that replaces...
Okay, so check this out real quick. This is... let me go switch number. And then we do the thing over here. Yeah. Okay, so look at this. This is PolitiFact. Instagram post misleads about lithium mining and Tesla cars. Where is it? Yeah, so this was from 2 years ago in 2022, by the way. This where is it? November 30th, 2022. Large machinery is required to move 500,000 pounds of earth in order to get the minerals needed for one single Tesla car battery. According to PolitiFact, this is false. And if you want to read further into this, you can, but it's very false, to like the tune of, I think, like 50 to 1. So, you know, just lies. Just lies and political ads. Just good old-fashioned lies here from, what was it, Mark Tisdale? What's your name, buddy? Tisdale. What's your face name? Mark Tisdale. 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 Mark Tisdale. Just coming up with Instagram post lies. Didn't even decide to check it. This dude's a politician and decided that Instagram probably fact-checked themselves and he doesn't need to do any sort of fact-checking. He's just going to repost it. It's very special. It's a very special kind of man that thinks that he's he's at all equipped to help run a state, but can't manage to fact-check an Instagram post. Okay. You love all of us, Stephen K? That's great. I love you too. Is it Stephen or Stefan? I just realized I hadn't even considered that until just now. Steph or Steve? Nixon. I did not commit any crimes. Okay, now we got a couple of videos here. Still on politics. This next one's from CNN. What Trump can learn from O.J. Simpson and Bertie Madoff if he fails to pay bond. I honestly love this arc of CNN just really shitting on Trump over him not being able to pay this bond. So let's watch this.
This is Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan. Right now, it is the crown jewel of Trump properties, towering over Fifth Avenue. Trump saying he's, quote, married to it. And if Trump can't come up...
Ow, I just smashed my leg. Fuck. Oh, that hurt. Oh, Chad. God damn it. Oh. By the way, I'm just going to point this out. We are all only one like away from getting Captain Benjamin Sisko. Okay, god damn it, my fucking leg. Why did I have to smash it so hard? Son of a bitch. Okay, I mean, obviously, if you're fine with just, you know, the Scott Bakula, you know, as your emotional support, that's fine. I'm not here to judge you people, but I'm just telling you that you're so close. You could almost be there right now. Anyway, let's listen to Aaron over here.
At $464 million by Monday, he could lose it. Trump's properties are seized, he would join an infamous club of high-profile figures who've had their estates publicly seized to pay off their debts. Tom Foreman takes a look out front.
Money from his NFL days, his movies, his commercials, it was all in theory up for seizure after O.J. Simpson, found not guilty of murder in 1995, was held civilly liable nearly 2 years later for the deaths of his ex-wife Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. In short order, he owed the victims' families more than $30 million.
Our family is grateful for a verdict of responsibility, which is all we ever wanted.
But although authorities raced to fulfill the judgment, even seizing and selling off O.J.'s Heisman Trophy, an attorney for Nicole's estate says O.J.'s wealth was locked up in untouchable pensions. His car was leased, his house heavily mortgaged, and what was left?
Rugs, crystal.
You know, zero gravity doesn't actually keep you from smashing into things. But I've got artificial gravity on this here space station. It's pretty great.
Trophies, golf clubs, you know, expensive furniture, things like that. Those were the only things we could get, and they were eventually auctioned off for about maybe $1.5 million.
Seizing and selling assets in such cases can be complex and moves very slowly. Take the New York stock market scammer who saw authorities seize his bank accounts, his homes, his boats. It's been 15 years since Bernie Madoff's guilty plea, but investors only recently announced they've recovered just over 90% of what he stole from them, which many experts actually call a big success in this business.
When someone
Yeah, usually that doesn't happen, especially in Ponzi schemes.
has an enormous amount of wealth and a lot of assets and a lot of partners, and it's super complicated, that makes it, you know, it drags it out. And it's unfortunate because you're right, then justice takes much longer and people have to wait.
In Florida, a court just this year ordered the seizure of more than $63 million in assets from a Miami commissioner for engaging in improper political retaliation. But he's fighting to keep his house, which is slowing the process. Some cases go faster. In New York, scores of ice cream trucks were seized after the city said owners racked up millions in traffic tickets. And some cases don't seem difficult.
I wonder how Trump feels about being compared to ice cream truck owners.
At all. A few years ago, a man was accused of looting and selling priceless Cambodian antiquities, but died before answering criminal charges. His family has returned more than 100 relics to Cambodia, and in 2023 agreed to forfeit $12 million and a Vietnamese statue.
But often the process of seizing property to satisfy a court ruling gets complicated and frankly a little weird. Years ago, O.J. wrote a very controversial book about how he would have committed the murders if he had done it. The rights to that were seized, and they're now considered basically worthless.
Okay, what are we doing next? Oh boy, we haven't even made it out of the US yet, chat. How far are we in? Only an hour. Oh, we're only an hour in? Why do I feel like we're further in? Just because people suck so bad. It's it's making me stressed. What's next? Oh, this is a really short clip. This is from TRT World. U.S. guards fire bullets at migrants attempting to cross from Mexico.
Shields up.
Did you hear that? Shields up.
Shields up.
Is that what we... Eh? Is that what we...
shields up to protect yourselves from what appear to be pretty unarmed people. I saw one rock thrown. I'll be honest, if I was getting shot, I'd probably be pissed too. Fancy ice cream cones for all. Who's providing the ice cream cones? Oh, I think I get what we're talking about. Okay, this next one is let's see. Yes. This one's from Reuters. A day ago, New York roller derby team fights order restricting trans athletes.
This New York roller derby team is taking on a ban against trans women in sports. The Long Island Roller Rebels have skated with transgender and gender nonconforming people for nearly 2 decades.
Our policy is explicit in that we are an inclusive space.
This is Amanda Urena, the vice president of the Rebels, whose derby name is Curly Fry.
We allow cisgender women, transgender women, and non-binary gender expansive people to be in our space, play in our league, as long as they get up to a certain level of skating.
The boisterous contact sport has long been a safe haven for some LGBTQ+ people, with inclusion and safety always emphasized. But an executive order issued by Nassau County now requires the team to expel any members who were not
Of course Caitlin's there. Look at her. Oh, God.
Issued by Nassau County now requires the team to expel any members who were not assigned female at birth if they want to book county facilities.
It's a violation on everything we stand for.
This is Roller Rebels coach Kat Carroll.
We want people to feel safe here, and they're screaming, no, they're not allowed to feel safe, and that's unacceptable.
The team, represented by the New York Civil Liberties Union, is fighting back with a lawsuit. Gabriela Larios is a staff attorney with the NYCLU.
Just want to play with their teammates, and now they are subject to the sweeping requirement that in order to use county facilities, they have to police the gender identity of their peers, and that's simply unacceptable and in
It's
violation
gross, is what it
of
is.
state's anti-discrimination laws.
Republican politicians in at least 23 U.S. states have advanced scores of laws and rules in recent years blocking transgender athletes from female teams. It's part of a broader legislative effort targeting healthcare for transgender people and their access to public spaces. But such orders are rare in New York. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman says it's needed to protect cisgender women and girls.
They can compete in a co-ed league. They can compete in a transgender league if they choose to form one.
The legality of the order is now being weighed by at least 2 courts.
Feels like separate but equal sort of feeling, doesn't it?
Days after it was issued,
It's real creepy. You sure they totally cared about roller derby for years? Oh, I'm sure they've all been focused on roller derby with the sort of vigor that they watched the WNBA and other sorts of women's sports that they're so upset about. Weightlifting, other things like that. Okay. I think we've had enough of that. Real gross stuff. Thankfully, people are fighting back against it, and hopefully, hopefully they manage to put pressure on people and get things overturned. Okay, this is real quick video here. Congress passed a $1.2 trillion spending bill to avert the government shutdown this weekend. Earlier this morning,
The motion is agreed to.
Congress overwhelmingly passed a $1.2 trillion budget bill to avert a partial government shutdown, keeping key federal agencies funded through a fiscal year that began 6 months ago. President Joe Biden signed it into law after the Democratic majority Senate passed the bill in the early hours of Saturday. Its passage means federal agencies, including the Departments of Defense, Homeland Security, Justice, State, and Treasury, will remain funded through September 30th.
It is a complete departure of all of our principles.
After the Republican-led House of Representatives passed.
I love how $1.2 trillion gets us to September, but in some like only September, like what is that, 6 months? But somehow it doesn't include free healthcare for everybody, or getting homeless people off the streets, or fixing any of the sorts of things like that we're constantly asking for. Fucking hell.
The bill on Friday, hardline conservative Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene threatened to force a vote to remove Republican House
In the
Speaker
Ice
Mike
Age,
Johnson
how much
for
taxes
allowing
did
the
people
measure to
pay?
advance. Johnson, as he has done more than 60 times since taking over from his ousted predecessor.
Yeah, the impending Anna Kasparian roller derby needs to be a safe space for women. That video is coming.
Kevin McCarthy relied on a parliamentary maneuver to bypass the Republican hardliners, which required support from Democrats. Greene's threat had echoes of October when a small band of hardliners engineered a vote that removed McCarthy for also relying on Democrats to pass a stopgap measure to avert another partial government shutdown. Some Democrats said they would vote to keep Johnson if he were to call a vote on the $95 billion security assistance package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, which has already been approved by the Senate. So far,
it's good that we got the package passed. I'm not going to say that that's not good. It's just frustrating that it doesn't include the things that we need and still somehow cost $1.2 trillion. And I would point out that most of that, I'm pretty sure, is relating to military spending. Okay, that's enough of that. Moving forward into tech and environmental news. Yay! We get to be slightly talking about something. Well, no. Some of it's not doomerific. Some of it's good, chat. Okay. But this one's not. This is from the AP from a day ago. Trump's social media company approved to go public. Truth Central.
Former President Donald
Central.
Trump will soon be the majority shareholder in a publicly traded company. Today, shareholders of a shell company called Digital World Acquisition Corp have approved a merger with the company that owns Trump's social media company called Truth Social. This combined company will begin trading on the NASDAQ stock market sometime next week. Trump owns more than half of the shares of this company. He stands to get as much as $3 billion or more. The caveat, though, is that he might not be able to cash in those shares as quickly as he would like. There is a lockup period. There are limits on when he can sell them. Trump's most immediate financial need.
Oh, that's unfortunate for him. I'm interested to know how well this stock is going to do. Who's going to go buy this thing? For Truth Central? What's it called? Truth Social? Truth Central? It's very confusing for me.
As he owes $454 million in a fraud case where he could stand to have his assets seized as soon as Monday. However, it could be really tricky for him to actually turn those shares into
I
cash.
need a drink, chat. Be right back.
It's not easy to be a social media company, especially one starting out so small. What Wall Street investors want is a company that turns a profit. Truth Social will really have to expand its audience somehow. And it's just not clear who that audience will be.
Hey, I don't appreciate that. I'm back. Nobody's gonna buy those shares? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. You know, I think some people bought those freaking golden shoes. Might actually be a better financial decision. That is not advice in any way. Yeah, see, Jules, you're onto the sneakers. You get what I'm saying. All right. I'm trying to think. Am I gonna get freaking copyrighted for this? I might. Fuck it. Let's just watch a portion of this. Is from 60 Minutes interview with Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI. All these horse emojis happening right now. Please help me tweet horse emojis at Elon Musk. Never want him to forget that he tried to pay for sex with a horse. Is that true? I've never heard that. What does that mean? He definitely killed Twitter? I think that's what that means.
Point.
I love how Twitter is now devolved. I mean, not Twitter. Chat has devolved into just emoji speak. Good. Yeah, I've seen what you're talking about, Soul Life. I have seen what you're talking about. I haven't used the technology yet either myself. But I just thought it'd be an interesting subject. Getting us from one place to the other. From Trump's social media company to environmental stuff. This first one we're going to watch is from a year ago, relating to the growth of supercoral. Let's check this video out.
Inside these tanks, a small group of scientists are growing coral 50 times faster and more resilient than in the wild. But why?
It's frankly ridiculous our job even exists. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a coral farmer, but this is the world we're living in right now. This one ecosystem that takes up less than 1% of the seafloor sustains the livelihoods of up to 1 billion people and 25% of marine life. But by 2050, less than 30 years away, over 90% of the world's reefs are projected to die. But if we get this right, there will be coral reefs for future generations.
We're in Grand Bahama, visiting the world's first commercial land-based coral farm for reef restoration.
So we're in Array A of our farm. This is one of the sections.
Coral. Very funny, Soul Life. Very.
Where we grow
very
corals
funny. I didn't even think of it. Where did you even? How did you even come up with that? It's brilliant.
6, 12, 20.
Because you're right. Rick Grimes, he does say Carl, like Carl. Oh, Carl, I didn't need to kill the zombies.
Months before we take them out by boat out on the reefs to start bringing those reefs back to life.
Lori.
Unlike traditional projects, Coral Vita grows their corals on land, and they do this for a few key.
This isn't the same video. This is from a different place. Okay? And I feel like it's super important. I don't know about you, but if corals support 1 billion people, I think it's probably worth a couple of videos, more than one.
Reasons.
Land-based coral farming basically allows us to grow more diverse and resilient corals more affordably and at scale. So corals have a natural ability to adapt to changing conditions, but things are deteriorating in the ocean so quickly, largely due to climate change, that they can't keep up. So what we're doing is acclimating the corals.
By raising and lowering the temperature of the water, the corals undergo stress.
We basically take them to the gym.
And in turn, harden, which boosts their ability to survive the planet's warming oceans.
Corals also have an ability to make babies, it's known as coral spawning. So when it comes time for coral spawning, we can then put those already more resilient corals together so that their babies are also going to be more resilient.
This process is called assisted evolution. They can also dramatically speed up a coral's growth rate.
The method we rely on to accelerate coral growth rates is known as microfragmenting, which is an open source method that basically allows us to grow corals up to 50 times faster, so months instead of decades in some cases. Corals have a natural healing process. So if you take one individual coral and you cut it up into these tiny little microfragments, and you put those microfragments near each other, and it'll start fusing back into itself. And eventually you have these larger corals from very important species that often aren't grown in traditional projects.
Okay, cool. That's about all I wanted to watch of that. I just thought it was super important. This kind of stuff is exactly what we need to be putting efforts into to attempt to mitigate some of the negative effects of climate change as we shift from one paradigm to the next. That's just my personal opinion. Let's manipulate shit. Look, as humans, I feel like that is kind of our thing, okay? We've already done it. Now we got to try and fix it. Oh, God. All right. This is just a reminder of something. Again, I guess, you know, sometimes maybe I drive things home a little much, but I just want people to remember this kind of stuff. So, and also, who knows, I get different people at streams from different times. And so, yeah, just to make sure everybody hears this kind of stuff. This is from a year ago, which is kind of a layup to the next video, where UN scientists said, "It is now or never. It is time to limit global warming." This is from BBC News from a year ago.
Emissions of greenhouse gases need to peak within the next 3 years if we're to stave off the worst effects of climate change. And even then, we'd still need new technology to suck carbon dioxide out of the skies by the middle of the century. In their latest report, UN scientists are warning we are on course for devastating changes to our climate. And the head of the UN called out government and business leaders for saying one thing on reducing emissions and doing another. Put simply, he said, they are lying and the results will be catastrophic. Here's our climate editor, Justin Rolat.
What the UN has published today is a roadmap for saving the world from the worst of climate change. But it comes with a massive warning. It is now or never. There can be no more broken promises on climate, says the UN.
Some government and business leaders are saying one thing but doing another. Simply put, they are lying. And the results will be catastrophic.
But there is some good news in today's report, so let's start there. The cost of renewable technologies, wind turbines, solar panels, batteries have been falling far quicker than anyone expected. As a result, the world is rapidly building solar and wind plants. In fact, last year, 10% of global electricity was generated from renewables, according to a report last week. But, says the UN, harnessing the power of the sun...
Never it is then. Woke. Wow, Soul Life. Wow.
The wind will not be enough. The report details how we'll also need to change the way we get around, what we eat, how efficient our homes and businesses are, how we farm, how we produce the goods we buy, how we move those goods around, and how we protect the natural world. In short, pretty much everything has to change because pretty much everything we do produces carbon dioxide.
Okay, it's a rosy outlook, I know. That was a year ago. This is from 4 days ago. We've already watched this video on stream, but we're gonna watch it again. This is the Associated Press. The UN Weather Agency issues a red alert on climate change. The UN Weather Agency has issued a red alert on global warming. The World Meteorological Organization cited record-smashing increases last year in greenhouse gases as well as land and water temperatures. The new report says wildfires, floods, and droughts caused misery and mayhem, upending everyday life for millions. Glaciers monitored since 1950 lost the most ice on record. Antarctic sea ice retreated to its lowest level ever.
The latest State of the Global Climate Report shows a planet on the brink. Fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts. Sirens are blaring across all major indicators. Last year saw record heat, record sea levels, and record ocean surface temperatures. Glaciers likely lost more ice than ever before. Some records are just chart-topping, they are chart-busting. The impact of all these is stark, brutal, and accelerating with a deadly force.
This annual report shows that the climate crisis is the defining challenge that humanity faces. It is imperative that our actions today are based on the welfare of future generations rather than short-term economic interests.
The WMO says the financial contributions toward a global fund helping nations become more resilient against climate change are... what? I read that wrong. It says it reached $63 billion in 2022, but estimates that by 2030, developing countries will only spend $212 billion. It's a big problem that we need governments and corporations not, governments and not corporations to solve, because it's not, they're not going to do that. Okay. Now this stuff ahead of us is a little bit lighter for a moment. Cow farts. What do we got next? Okay, yeah. This is a this is relating to the solar eclipse that's going to be going over the continental United States as well as Canada. This is from 6 years ago. Something that a friend showed me recently, and thought it'd be fun to watch part of this. Wow. Nerd? Yeah. He's definitely a nerd. I'm certainly gonna agree with that statement. Plastics are found in water, farts, fish, and vegetables. Interesting. Where do you get the statistics for that? Anyway, there's more to this talk. But his description of it makes me very intrigued. And I'm just going to quickly go to... I think there's got a graph here somewhere. Yeah, here. Let's watch this end part.
17. The moon's shadow will...
Haven't you seen a dozen of these? Probably not. You're probably thinking of partial solar eclipses, which are completely different than what he's talking about. Well, not completely different, but from at least from his explanation of it, it sounds incredibly different. I've never actually seen a full solar eclipse, so...
To South Carolina. April 8th, 2024, the moon's shadow heads north from Texas.
Okay, so let's see. It goes through essentially the San Antonio, Austin area, through Dallas, central Arkansas, southern Illinois and Missouri, Indiana, Ohio, northern Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, like the corner of it, and then most of like northern, like western New York, as well as Maine, and looks like people in Ottawa and Montreal with a little bit of traveling, and Quebec could easily see it as well, potentially. Although, wait, no, yeah, I think so. The rest of this is him saying that we need to make solar eclipses a holiday. I mean, I'm all for it, but if you want to catch the rest of it, do go. It's on, I think it's a TED Talk. Yeah. Okay. Do we watch this second video about the eclipse? Yeah, because this talk was actually from, was it 10 years ago? 6 years ago. So this is from 2 weeks ago. Let's watch this part of this quick report from CBC
Total
News.
Solar eclipses happen all the time, once every 18 months or so, on average. In theory, you could see dozens of them in your lifetime, but you won't. The one coming up on April 8th may very well be the only one you will ever experience, if you're lucky, and I'm going to explain why.
This is an experience beyond all experiences. You can't prepare yourself properly for what this is like.
Moanope is right that Soul Life is right. We should make voting a holiday first.
I've been told to see a total solar eclipse is a defining moment in one's life. The bright sky gives way to a creeping darkness. The ambient light changes. The air gets colder and the moon slow glides into place. These brilliant beads of light shimmer and disappear one by one until there's nothing left but that dancing glow of the sun's corona, its atmosphere, giving this halo to the moon.
This spiky streamers and long brushes and these shapes that you can't even describe come shooting off the surface of the sun.
But the sun's rays completely blocked.
You cannot prepare yourself for how intensely cosmic it is to stand in the shadow of the moon and observe the corona. So that lead up, those last 15, 20 minutes leading up to the shadow of the moon arriving on top of your head and transforming your environment, it is a peak experience. It was a peak experience in my life.
Wow, I never thought.
Yeah, Soul Life did beat you to it, unfortunately. Okay, well, that's all we're going to talk about. Actually, that's not all we're going to talk about relating to the moon, but this is a different, different sort of thing. Segueing from that, we are going to look at why scientists are making moon dust. This is BBC from 15 hours ago.
Here at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, work is underway to establish a permanent place to live on the moon. And to find out how we do that, it's time for me to take one small step of my own.
Oh wow, I can instantly see the dust kind of kicking up. Yeah. It's really fine, isn't it?
It leaves the footprints like you'd expect.
Oh my gosh, it's brilliant. And this is how moon dust behaves, it just like
it
puffs
does.
Up like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's so fine.
Welcome to Swamp Works, the dusty, dirty lab where they work with simulated moon dust. Now, the loose soil that covers the lunar surface is called regolith. It's extremely fine, very sharp on a microscopic scale, and it gets everywhere.
So when we landed with Apollo 11, we didn't know what the surface of the moon exactly was going to be like. There was a lot of concern of how much will this lander sink into the surface? How fluffy is this regolith?
Surface is fine and powdery. I can pick it up loosely with my toe.
In fact, it's because the Eagle lander didn't sink in as much as expected that Neil Armstrong had to take such a giant leap from the bottom rung of the ladder. Today, SwampWorks is developing robots that can cope with and take advantage of lunar soil. And it will be very useful. See, moon dust is made of materials like silicon dioxide and calcium oxide, which all contain a lot of oxygen. If we could mine the regolith and use chemical processes to extract the oxygen, we could make our own breathable air and our own rocket fuel.
Cool. There's more to that, but that's really all I wanted to watch. If you want to check it out, it's on BBC. Oh, my dogs. Goth dogs, good to see you. Good to see you. How about we keep the planet from dying first before we try living somewhere else? That's a good idea. I like Morbius's plan. That said, since it's the Galactic News Network, we're always keeping track of what's happening in space. Okay. Now on to a couple more environmental related stuff. This was from an hour ago from Global News. Earth Hour. Iconic landmarks across the globe. Turn off the lights. This footage was really interesting. Iconic landmarks such as the Eiffel Tower went dark for an hour on Saturday.
Sí, lo mejor que nada es, o sea, yo no lo sabía y porque van a apagar las luces me entero y lo apoyo.
Sembla molt útil perquè la gent prengui consciència
I think it's very useful
de que
that we are spending a lot of energy, especially an emblem like the Sagrada Familia is important, and if the Colosseum in Rome also does it,
Roma i altres edificis també ho fan.
in fact, we should do it much
Ho haurien
more.
de fer molt més.
I agree.
FR is just not an harbor. We do encourage people to do some sort of actions. Like after this year FR, you just take your own time to enjoy the feeling with nature, to continue your own movement to change the way you live.
Okay, I just thought that was almost meditative to watch the lights go out on those things. The footage was certainly beautiful in certain circumstances there. You're a dragon. Rawr. One last little bit of environmental news. This is from the AP from an hour ago. Bamboo farming gains momentum in Uganda. And before we watch this, I'd point out that bamboo is much more sustainable and very easy to grow than cutting down trees in many circumstances.
This is very, very good. We are making a few products, not as many as we should. We are making these tables, as you have seen, the chairs, and now we are trying to make sure that whichever furniture comes in a material that is not sustainable, we replace that with bamboo because it's a sustainable material.
The fact is, you can grow bamboo in places where it snows, where it gets hot, in so many climates. It's really incredible. I used to grow some. If you have a backyard or even a tiny spot, you really don't need much to get it going. It grows like grass.
Awo notandika okuharvestinga, notandika okukwata ku sente za bambu. Bw'otandika ku myaka 3 egyo n'omuzzukulu basigala balya ku bambu oyo. So yensonga kyekyatuggyako.
Oh, he was, what did he say? Sorry, I wasn't reading. Your grandkids and your great-grandkids will earn from that bamboo. That is the reason why we stopped planting eucalyptus and resorted to bamboo.
Kyekyatuggyako okulima kalitunsi ne tudda mu kulima bambu.
Up until now, people are still struggling with the use. People are still struggling.
Yeah, bamboo, growing bamboo indoors is a completely different monster. It's basically bonsai. It's much more difficult than just leaving it to its own devices outside.
With its viability in the market, who buys it, what does it do, and people haven't seen many bamboo products.
Yeah, and bonsai is much harder than just growing a plant outdoors. Just gonna point that out. Takes many years to be able to achieve that level of skill. Okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Yes. Okay. Oh, looks like we're moving on to geopolitics. How long did it take to get here today? 2 hours. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Oh yeah, my dogs, you live in Canada? How far north? Because the fact is, there's plenty of places, like, I think you could grow it in like places even as far north as like a Vancouver. You would just have to plant it obviously like during the spring. And, you know, just get it to survive. It would be easier to transplant it from somewhere else. You can buy, I've looked into it. I honestly got my bamboo from someone near me at the time that I had a backyard. And I don't know why we're talking about this now. But yeah, you can definitely buy bamboo plants online, then transplant them. And those will usually take, depending. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to grow bamboo in Alaska. Although I do think there are some bamboo that grow in very, very, very cold climates. So you might be able to get a certain kind of bamboo that would grow in Alaska. I'm not sure. It does thrive in mid climates though. Most of them do. But I'm pretty sure there's a few that like survive at very high and cold high altitudes and cold climate. I don't know enough about bamboo to actually say that for sure. So definitely double check that if you're really interested. I don't know how we got on to people talking about growing. Was it me? Did I start it? I might have started it. Okay. This next video is from Reuters. We're going to move on to the crisis in Haiti right now. Warning, this is slightly graphic content. Charred bodies found in Haiti after gang leader killed. This is from 4 hours ago. Wait, I just went past it. God dang it.
Great.
Wait, why is this here? Huh? Did I miss something? Oh, this isn't out of order. This is out of order, son of a bitch. Okay, fuck it. I already led you up to that, so I might as well. Just watch this one.
Fight for freedom! Stand up!
Wait, why are you playing this video for me now? Don't be an asshole. There we go.
Gravediggers buried charred bodies allegedly belonging to gang members in Haiti after clashes between the national police and armed groups left a prominent gang leader dead. Authorities were seen recovering the charred bodies from the street in Port-au-Prince on Friday. The remains were said to be members of the Delmas 95 gang led by Ernst Julme, also known as T.
What does BS/AS stand for in that sentence, BCat? I'm highly intrigued by this.
It was not clear if one of the charred bodies was Julme, who died in the shootout with police. The death of Julme, who's associated with crime boss Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier's alliance, marks a setback for the gangs and their effort to take over more of the city. Julme had recently escaped from Haiti's largest prison in a mass jailbreak. Haiti has been gripped by violence since rival gangs unleashed a wave of attacks this month. Thousands have been killed and hundreds of thousands displaced. International organizations, including the World Food Program, said almost half of Haiti's people are struggling to feed themselves, with the country now suffering its worst level of food insecurity on record.
Oh boy. These streets are starting to get real crazy now. We've been watching these images for a while, and in my estimation, things have definitely escalated.
Regional leaders are trying to form a transitional council that would be tasked with appointing a replacement for Prime Minister.
Before space. Oh, okay. Before space and after space. Well, thank you for clarifying. That makes a lot of sense.
Ariel Henry, who announced his resignation on March 11th. He is currently stranded abroad as gang violence prevented his return.
Yeah, that's not the only reason. But really, we're just watching that to keep tabs on this, you all know what my thinking is about the Haiti crisis, and that the Haitian people need to be given the opportunity to vote, to be able to form their own government. Okay. This next video, which I kind of spoiled, is a TRT World video from 8 hours ago in which activists in Taiwan protested Hong Kong's Article 23 legislation.
Fight for freedom! Stand in Hong Kong!
Shit, I forgot that this has subtitles for me to read. Hold on. Take two. Activists in Taiwan are protesting Hong Kong's Article 23. The new law was passed in Hong Kong's parliament and came into force on Saturday. Basically, after today, Hong Kong does not have democracy and freedom of speech anymore. The law includes penalties up to life in prison for crimes considered a threat to national security. It also grants the security minister to cancel passports and activists abroad and allows the police to detain people for up to 16 days without charge. In 2020, the national security law was drawn up in Hong Kong. People became afraid of speaking up. Article 23 takes it a step further to make citizens monitor each other. Because in Article 23 there is a clause stating that if you discovered someone breaking the national security law but have not reported that person, it would mean that you are also breaking the law. Hong Kong and Beijing had imposed a national security law in 2020 to silence opposition voices in Hong Kong. Nearly 300 people have been arrested under that law, and in 2003 an attempt... Whoa, that was a little fast for me to read. In 2003, an attempt to pass Article 23 was dropped after 500,000 people protested against it. This time, public response was muted. After the law's passage, several governments and organizations criticized the new law, calling it an expansion of the Chinese Communist Party, assault on freedom in Hong Kong. Okay. Excuse me. What's next? Oh, all right. We're moving over to Russia. Yeah, these next few videos. Actually, well, we're gonna watch like 3 of 5 of these videos. I've got a bunch of them here. This is all from between a day ago and 8 hours ago. This is different organizations and different footage of the attack in Moscow at the concert. More has come out since yesterday when we first talked about it. So let's listen to CNN first.
And I want everyone to understand what you're looking at your screen here. This is not a video. This is live. This is actually what is happening live right now near Moscow, right outside that shopping center and concert venue where this occurred. So you can still see some of the flashing lights. But I want everyone to understand that what you're looking at here is live. So it's 2:30 in the morning. You've got a lot of traffic. You got a lot of cars going by here, and as that picture is zooming in a bit, you can see still the incredible amount of law enforcement and lights outside. Bob, the thing about this, and it is hard to sort of have this conversation and not feel a little odd because we are in the context of a massive war going on, right, in Ukraine. And yet in that context, the United States had told Russia, somehow had communications and told them to expect something like this, intercepting intelligence that was specific and spot on, saying that ISIS was determined to attack inside Russia. And then the U.S. Embassy issued a specific warning last weekend. The embassy is monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow, to include concerts. And U.S. citizens should be advised to avoid large gatherings. And we understand this was also passed to Russia.
So yeah, apparently, supposedly, the United States intelligence service gave Russia's intelligence service somehow, I don't know what kind of bat phone they have between each other, but somehow gave them forewarning of potential attacks in Moscow, told American citizens to leave, and then this shit happened. We're gonna move forward though, because this is an old video, and I've got more new shit, more, what do you call it? More relevant and current information.
Now let's bring in founding partner and Washington correspondent at Puck, Julia Ioffe. Julia, this particular venue, one of the biggest entertainment complexes in all of Russia. Put it in context for us. Where is it in town? Why is it so important to the Russian people? And why do you think it was targeted?
Well, it is on the outskirts of Moscow, and it is a big, fancy concert venue. It's where the biggest stars come to play when Western stars would come and play in Moscow, and the big Russian stars play as well. It was a symbol of the luxury that Russia had accumulated and built up over the two decades of Putin's power.
And the U.S. Embassy previously warned about plans by extremists to carry out attacks in Moscow. Is there any reason to believe the U.S. had information that it perhaps didn't feel comfortable sharing with the Kremlin ahead of today's attack?
Well, one of the last things to go after the 2014 invasion of Ukraine by Russia was counterterrorism cooperation.
Oh, wait, so maybe they didn't give them the information? Wait, I gotta hear that again, because I'm a little confused.
Western stars would come and play in Moscow, and the big Russian stars play as well. It was a symbol of the luxury that Russia had accumulated and built up over the two decades of Putin's power.
And the U.S. Embassy previously warned about plans by extremists to carry out attacks in Moscow. Is there any reason to believe the U.S. had information that it perhaps didn't feel comfortable sharing with the Kremlin ahead of today's attack?
Well, one of the last things to go after the 2014 invasion of Ukraine by Russia was counterterrorism cooperation. It lasted for many more years after that, even over the strenuous appeals of people in the American intelligence community that it was useless and that it was legitimizing some of what the Kremlin was doing. Shortly before you and I sat down to tape this, we got word that ISIS has in fact claimed responsibility for this attack. In the hours before we got this claim, people were pointing fingers every which way at Ukraine, at the Russian state security services themselves, but now it seems we have a more definitive answer.
And tensions clearly high right now. There's the war in Ukraine, Alexei Navalny's death, and Putin's re-election. Do you think any of that precipitated what we saw today?
Politically.
Okay. I'm going to keep moving through these videos, trying to give us all of the information here. This is from even more recently. This is from BBC News from 18 hours ago. Moscow concert attack. Arrests after at least 93 people were killed.
And we begin the program in Russia, where it's been reported that 11 people suspected of involvement in a brutal attack on one of Moscow's largest music halls has been arrested, including 4 of the assailants. This is according to Russia's FSB security service. At least 93 people are believed to have been killed when gunmen targeted the building on Friday evening. More than 140 others are believed to have been injured in the assault on the Crocus City Hall on the outskirts of the city. A large fire broke out in the building that caused most of the roof to then collapse. As armed forces rushed to the scene, an Islamic State group claimed it was behind the attack. The United States believes that this is credible and says it had been warned, or rather it had warned Russia about large gatherings in Moscow being vulnerable. Will Vernon has the latest.
A rock concert that turned into a massacre.
Thousands of people had gathered at the venue near Moscow when gunmen broke in and began shooting. Outside the hall, more casualties as the attackers gunned people down, apparently at random. Panic ensued as people ran for the exits. Soon, the whole building was ablaze. This is one of the largest and most popular music venues in Russia. Far from the city centre, security here would have been light, an easy target for the attackers.
Okay. We're going to keep moving through these because I've got like two more. This is from first-hand accounts of people who were at the Moscow attack discussing this harrowing ordeal. This is from the Associated Press from 8 hours ago now. I just realized I had the volume down this whole time. Sorry, chat. How did nobody notice the volume was down so low? Anyways, I'm going to start reading this. The governor of Russia's Moscow region... Oh shit, what did I just do? Son of a... the governor of Russia's Moscow region assessed the damage on Saturday from the attack on a concert hall. Over 133 people were killed when several gunmen burst into the large concert hall and sprayed the crowd with automatic gunfire. That number is higher than the previous number, by 40. Russian President Vladimir Putin says authorities have arrested the 4 suspected men directly involved in carrying out the deadly attack. Stacks of flowers have begun to pile up outside the concert hall as mourners gather to pay their respects. Survivors are still trying to process the harrowing ordeal. When I came home, I have children. I hugged my children, fell on their laps and said, Lyosha, oh, what was going on there? Simply cannot be conveyed in words. They were just shooting us. I just started to go hysterical and panic. The children were scared. Mommy, hugged me, gave me some water. Maybe we should call an ambulance. I couldn't sleep. I had a headache all day. All that happened stays in my eyes and my ears. This is pain. This is pain. Okay. And the last of all of this culminates with a video that came out at the exact same time. This is from Reuters. Putin vows to punish those behind the concert hall bloodbath. Were you getting too crazy in a chat, Vincent? Interesting. In Letterhack, of all places. Everybody's a mod in Letterhack. Shit, I forgot that I gotta read this one. I'm gonna turn the volume down a little bit. I'll just read. I'm addressing you in regards to the bloody barbaric act of terror that killed dozens of peaceful people who are not guilty of anything. Our fellow citizens, including children, teenagers, women. The main thing is to not let those behind this bloodbath commit new crimes. Regarding the investigation of this crime and results of operational search actions, I can now say the following. All 4 of the actual perpetrators of the act of terror, all those who shot and killed people, were found and detained. They tried to hide and were moving in the direction of Ukraine. There, according to the preliminary information, they had a crossing of the border prepared from the Ukrainian side. Overall, 11 people were detained. All the executors, planners, and those who ordered this crime will be rightfully and inevitably punished, whoever they are, and whoever directed them. Let me repeat. We'll identify and punish everyone who stood behind the terrorists. Well, you heard it from, oh wait, did I just leave that on the wrong screen? I did, didn't I? So sorry, chat. I didn't even notice. Anyway, hopefully you heard, at least by what I said, what it was that Putin is trying to say. And he is essentially alleging that the terrorists, and ISIS has up to this point taken credit for this, that somehow ISIS had Ukrainian backing in some way and is blaming the Ukrainians. So I'm sure that that will go well.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Anyway, considering we've made it 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I've got, yeah, got quite a few videos for us to look at here, I'm going to take a quick break. Well, I hope you've been enjoying the stream so far. Take in this beautiful view here at Galactic Pool, where I, Galactic Streamlord, just gonna hang out while we listen to music and chat. Now, if you were to say, want to, affect your will on this beautiful set, you could. You could add a picture of yourself or an emoji of your choice, up to my discretion, of course, and do this by signing up to my Patreon. Galactic producers receive all sorts of different benefits, including galactic shoutouts and exclusive content, which I've been trying to work on as fast as possible in the background. Anyway, I'll be right back.
Jesus ain't say that.
The box is full of Pepe. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
This is from 12 Rules for Life.
Don't be creepy.
All right, chat, I am back. Hope you've enjoyed hanging out by the Galactic pool with me. Okay, what do we got next? Ah, yes. This. Okay. I think this is the way I want to do this. This is an okay order. There's a lot to go through here. We're going to start 3 days ago. Didn't watch this one when it first came out. Thank you. Well, glad to be back, both of you. Your boss farted in his. Okay, Soul Life. Okay. Alright, what's next? Yes, this video, Al Jazeera English from 3 days ago. Why has Israel launched another attack on Al Shifa Hospital?
Al Jazeera Podcasts.
Today, the aftermath of yet another attack on Al Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital.
I pray to God to protect us. People were calling out, but no one is hearing.
Hospital staff and an Al Jazeera journalist were beaten and detained. Why? I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take. Okay, let's start with an introduction. You and I are old friends and colleagues from DC, but you're in a new location.
Thank you for having me. My name is Wisan Abuquake. I'm an Al Jazeera Arabic correspondent. I was based in Washington, D.C. for a long time, and I just moved to New York to cover the UN beat and other news happening in New York.
Welcome to New York. I hope it's a good experience for you. I know that you're new to covering the UN full time, but you're not new.
Good to see you, FG. You made it just in time for us to start discussing Gaza.
To the story that we're talking about today, which is what's happening in Gaza, especially as it pertains to our own Al Jazeera colleagues. So I know you were following what happened at Al Shifa Hospital on Monday when Israeli forces stormed the compound and arrested at least 200 people, including Al Jazeera journalist Ismail El-Ghul.
Israeli forces raiding Al Shifa Hospital have severely beaten Al Jazeera journalist Ismail Al-Ghul. He was covering the military's attack with colleagues when he was dragged away.
Can you tell me about what you understand happened?
So what I understand happened was in the early hours of Monday, we started getting reporting that there was an operation targeting Al Shifa Hospital. And then at one point, we received news that our colleague Ismail El-Ghul was arrested and that he was severely beaten, that he was stripped of his clothes. Apparently, there were eyewitnesses to that.
Our colleague in Gaza, Hani Mahmoud, described what those witnesses said.
We were told by an eyewitness inside the hospital that Ismail and his crew member were actually beaten and were verbally abused and dehumanized, basically, and tortured before they were led into the unknown area.
Dozens of people were killed in the attack. Daniel Hagari, a spokesman for the Israeli military, says they arrested more than 200 and killed 20.
Shit is just war crimes after war crimes after war crimes, and it is very frustrating to feel like there's nothing that I can do to stop it from happening. Surprised he lived. Jen A-side.
The Hamas terrorist organization continues to operate from within civilian hospitals and facilities in a methodical manner. It exploits civilians and patients as a human shield. Hamas is trying to establish its base in the hospital and to use it as a shelter for terrorists. We will not allow this, and we will attack, and we will continue to attack anywhere Hamas will attempt to re-establish its grip.
Gaza's health ministry says that isn't true.
The health ministry accuses Israel of using fabricated narratives to deceive the world and justify the storming of Al-Shifa.
And as this was happening, Bisan was hearing that more journalists were arrested too.
We got news that the rest of the Al Jazeera team and crew there also were arrested and broadcast equipment was destroyed. And then, as of that moment...
Yeah, journalists have been getting singled out. Essentially, by the IDF. It's been real gross.
Many of us...
Hasbro bullshit, yep.
Especially in the US and in Europe, depending on what our beat is, get some sort of reaction or comment on his arrest. This is not the first time Al Jazeera colleagues in Gaza and in the West Bank also, in the case of Shireen Abu Akleh, have been targeted and killed, as in the case of Shireen, and in Gaza, their family members have been killed, as in the case of Wa'il al-Dahdouh, and Samir Abu Daqqa, he himself was killed by an Israeli strikes.
Samir Abu Daqqa was the 13th Al Jazeera journalist killed since the network launched in 1996.
So when this happens, when a journalist from the network is arrested and reports trickle through that they've been severely beaten and detained for no reason, or for no reason that's reported, what happens among you and your colleagues?
It's alarm, I would say, worry, but also given where we are and geographically, it's our duty to try and get some sort of commentary or statement from the officials and the organizations that we cover, or the institutions that we cover. So immediately in the morning.
Like, for the record, you know, honestly, it's like the last bastion of, what do you want to call it? Just hope. And of keeping people, holding people to account. Teddy Cool? What is that emote? Is that a kitty cat?
Email to the press office here for the Secretary General of
Whoa.
office. And, you know, they responded actually very quickly. And then later on in the day, when the actual press briefing happened, I asked the question again.
You've only been...
Good for her. Okay. I am going to move us a little bit forward. This is from 19 hours ago. Al Jazeera English. Discussing farming in Palestine. How the Israel war affects the agriculture industry. Oh, bad lefty. Good to see you.
The smell of sweet strawberries wafts through this family-run farm in Tokram, where farmers are working fast to fill a shortfall. The The smell of sweet strawberries wafts through this family-run farm in Tokram, where farmers are working fast to fill a shortfall. The usual imports from Gaza have stopped, leaving a void in the local market of Palestinian produce. The business was so lucrative in Gaza, the fruit was known as red gold. The sweetest were grown in Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia, where Al Jazeera filmed 4 years ago. Now the war has destroyed farming communities and everyone in Gaza is threatened with starvation. Experts say military hardware and bombs have damaged the soil for many years.
The destruction.
No kidding. I mean, right? Like, you bomb everything and you run it all over. Discard a bunch of military trash, destroy buildings, leaving rubble getting into the soil, all this other stuff.
The farms and soil is wide due to the military vehicles, and there will be years of destruction because of the material used in the explosives and phosphorus bombs used there. This will affect the land and water for the long term.
Back in Tokram, farmer Muath Abu Mariam says harvesting the fruit has become increasingly dangerous.
The soldiers are protecting the Israeli settlement here, and we don't know what they could do. They may pick up their guns and start shooting. They targeted our neighbor's car with live bullets when he was trying to go to his farm.
We are driving to another part of Muath's land. We were turned back earlier in the morning as the farmers said Israeli soldiers were there. It's dangerous to grow produce here. About 400 meters away is an illegal Israeli settlement that's protected by Israeli soldiers. Farmers here say since October the 7th, when they've attempted to access their land, they've often opened fire at them. This fruit is ripe for picking, but it's sometimes left to rot.
This is so depressing. There's perfectly good food here on the ground inside Palestine, and Palestinians can't even eat it. It's going to waste? That is so, like, what the fuck? Tell me how in any way that's right or makes sense. Anybody.
In this Ramallah market 2 hours south, farmers from Gaza would compete every year with Israeli produce to fill the stalls. Even though the amount coming from Gaza would often vary depending on Israeli restrictions, the fruit was popular with buyers.
I feel profound grief. I'm speaking, but my heart is shattering. This is the first time I have bought strawberries this season, but I'm not sure if I'll enjoy them.
With
Jesus Christ. This is so sad. Dangerous to grow produce. Imagine that. Yeah, imagine that. Usually you don't think of farming as being an incredibly dangerous thing to do. This may be just my personal understanding of it. Not a farmer. Although one time I did live near farms in my life. I even rode horses. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Probably because I'm trying to find my next video. I'm just talking to myself out loud. And to you. What is next? Ah, yes. Okay. This is from 19 hours ago as well. Also from Al Jazeera. Palestinians in Gaza hoping for a truce announcement. I too am hoping from space.
Let's find out what's happening on the ground. And Hani Mahmoud joins us now from Rafah. Hani, for people there, what happens in terms of the international diplomacy we're seeing is obviously a matter of life and death. How are they talking about what's been happening over the last day or so?
Yes, well, so far the ongoing talks in Doha and previously in Cairo and what's going on in the UN Security Council all have been major topics among displaced Palestinians in overcrowded Rafah city and people who are starving and dealing with acute famine in the northern part, as everybody hoping they will get to the point where there is a solid announcement of a ceasefire, not only just a temporary truce, or they want more of a permanent ceasefire so they can get back to their life as they know it. Right now, not only we're looking at the humanitarian level, but also the ongoing state of panic and fears as the results of the constant threats of expanding the ground invasion into Rafah city, which will be very catastrophic given the fact that Rafah is overcrowded with more than...
We need a fucking ceasefire right now. The shit is out of control, okay? I don't see how anybody... And the fact is a lot fewer people are defending this at this point now, it seems, but it is just incredible that this has gone on as long as it has.
Half of Gaza population have been cornered in this small part of the Gaza Strip and already struggling on daily basis to find basic supplies and life-saving items to combat the difficulties of living conditions created by the ongoing intense bombing campaign that has already destroyed major parts of Rafah city. We're looking at the eastern part of the city that has largely been cleared of all the residential buildings and the agricultural land, and to the western part where the vast majority of the infrastructure have been either destroyed or severely damaged, just mounting pressure on people right now. And very disappointed as well at the role of the U.S. here as part of their frustration that the U.S., what they did at the UN Security Council yesterday was more of what the U.S. has been doing by traditionally standing by Israel and protecting it from UN Security Council decisions and its agencies.
Well, Hani, I can hear the Israeli drones overhead there. I understand there have been even more strikes, meanwhile, even as senior UN officials are heading towards Rafah?
Yes, what we're seeing within the past 24 hours, more of a surge in the presence of drone surveillance, a drone in the air.
I don't know how you get to the point where you walk around all normal when you can hear drones flying above you that are planning on killing somebody somewhere near you. Could be you. And just because they've just been living with this violence for so long. Fucking hell. This is nuts.
As well as attack drones and more of the overnight airstrikes in the eastern part of Rafah city, where a residential home was targeted and destroyed, and 5 children reported killed, all transferred to a Najjar hospital, and 7 more injured.
Look at that footage. This is ridiculous.
Of Rafah city, where a residential home was targeted and destroyed, and 5 children reported killed, all transferred to a Najjar hospital, and 7 more injuries, remaining family members. But those who were pronounced it were the 5 children of the displaced family residing in this residential home, have been displaced from other parts from the Gaza Strip. To the western part, almost non-stop, constant naval shelling and heavy gunboat on the coastal road, that the western part of Rafah city, causing great deal of damage.
It's all
to
destroyed.
The buildings, right on the...
It's all destroyed. It's a whole city just leveled to the ground, blown to bits. How are you supposed... The amount of resources to rebuild Gaza are gonna be fucking crazy.
Coastal road of Rafah city. There were also reports of earlier hours today of the Israeli military with a large number of tanks and armored vehicles pushed deep.
I wasn't paying attention here. Your family used to live on a strawberry farm? Huh. That's a cool fact about you. Didn't know before now. You linked a video from Electronic Intifada. If I need a palate cleanser. Okay, thank you. Good to see you. AC. Feel like I haven't seen you in the stream lately. I assume you're busy driving. In fact, I think I've seen a couple of your streams of you driving recently. Don't eat the green strawberries. Yeah, don't do that. That's smart. That's smart.
From Al-Matahan intersection, that's in the middle of the central.
Okay. I'm gonna keep pushing forward through all this. Well, fuck it. We're gonna look at this next one from Global News. It's from a day ago. Just can't keep. I don't think we can take our eyes off of this until it's over. This is entitled "Children in Gaza Dying from Malnutrition and Disease." The World Health Organization reports.
These hospitals, for the last couple of weeks, are seeing high number of severely acute malnutrition with complications. Unfortunately, today, myself, I saw 6 children with severely acute malnutrition with complications. WHO and Mid Global are here today to start supporting and setting a stabilization nutrition centers.
فادي عنده مرض اسمه cystic fibrosis الجاف على الرئة. هذا المرض طبعا يعني بيحتاج لعناية في الحليب في العلاج في الغذاء.
Oh, she's sorry. She was saying that her son has cystic fibrosis and that his care, even without the war, required quite a lot.
في الحرب إلنا 5 شهور كل إشي مقطوع عنا يعني مش متوفر الإشي فزادت حالة.
And that day by day the condition of her child has been getting worse. Okay, I think that's all I can even handle this video. But I just feel like we have to genuinely look at it at least once per day until this shit stops. I feel like we've been doing a pretty good job of that. Because I think it's only fair that we're reminded of these tragedies when it's not even happening to us. Seems like the least we can do. Now on to some stuff that's getting more in-depth into all of this stuff. First one. Actually, I might skip this one. No, I'm not. I'm not going to skip this. I think this is a really important one. I might watch it at 1.25 because it's super long. Although the next one's even longer. This one's from Breakthrough News. If you're not already subscribed to their channel, please do go subscribe. I try not to use people's channels like this without their permission. But the fact is they had Mustafa Barghouti on, and that to me is newsworthy. And therefore, we're going to watch this interview with him on Breakthrough. This is from a day ago. Why the U.S. wants to block free and fair elections in Palestine. Let's listen in.
A resolution about ceasefire, but not support.
Whoops. Why is it here?
We want to turn our attention here to the ongoing genocide, occupation, apartheid. We could go on and on with terrible words. What's being done to the Palestinian people by the Israeli occupation with the help of the U.S. government. We are very, very honored to be joined here on the show as we move into this topic by Dr. Mustafa Barghouti. Dr. Barghouti, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for hosting me.
Well, the pleasure is all ours. And I want to start, we're getting a lot of news here today in the United States about Antony Blinken's travels around the West Asian region and all the claims that they are making that the United States is trying to, in his words, bring an enduring end to the genocide in Gaza. I wonder what you make of these efforts coming from the U.S. government recently in the UN and these various capitals. I mean, are they truly working for peace or what?
Absolutely not. I think the United States of America is unfortunately complicit in these war crimes, not just complicit, but actually participating in them by providing Israel with weapons. 28,000 tons of explosives have been supplied by the United States to Israel, which has thrown on Gaza no less than 70,000 tons of explosives, which is about 30 kilograms of explosives for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. The United States has just changed its position in the United Security Council one more time. Instead of supporting a resolution for an immediate ceasefire, they're talking now about the necessity of a resolution about ceasefire, but not supporting ceasefire. And that is, of course, very alarming.
Yeah, it's going one step too little. maybe multiple steps too little. And, you know, it's the sort of tokenized, like, policy stance that attempts to create some sort of facade around the bad decisions and the bad, you know, the bad things that are happening, so that the U.S. government can look better than it really deserves to.
But in addition to that, unfortunately...
Oh, yeah. Good night, Vin. Hope you get some sleep.
We see continuous acceptance of Israeli arguments and support to the Israeli point of view. And a very good example of that is that the United States' decision to suspend completely any support to UNRWA till 2025. This resolution means suffocating UNRWA and trying to liquidate the rights of the Palestinian refugees by killing UNRWA. So practically what the United States is doing is punishing the victim instead of punishing the aggressor and the killer in this case.
Yep.
Dr. Barghouti, one thing that the U.S. has also been doing, which isn't new, I mean, this is kind of what the U.S. does around the world, and that is, you know, they have these discussions about, you know, they talk about the day after, or even now, and when they talk about the Palestinian political scene, they're searching anywhere to find some sort of leader that they can get behind, right? That's, I mean, as they do anywhere. And right now you do see like polls showing that there's a huge rise in certain areas, at least, where it can be polled in support for a group like Hamas, which the U.S. completely refuses to allow, and of course the Israelis as well, to be any part of the Palestinian political arena, and allow a decreased support for the Palestinian Authority. And so I'm curious if you can maybe lay out a bit, when we talk about the Palestinian political scene, what do you see as the way forward? And maybe that's a difficult thing to talk about in the midst of a genocide unfolding right now. But at the same time,
it's difficult for sure, but it's necessary as fuck right now.
Palestinians do need
it's the thing that I keep trying to ask myself, because the fact is I don't feel like I am an expert on the situation. I don't know what the best solution is. I've heard Norm Finkelstein talk about a one-state solution quite a lot. Two-state solution does seem like it has some benefits as well, and I just... anyway.
If, you know, you would think. So I guess what are your thoughts on all of that as the U.S. tries to influence or even control whatever the future Palestinian leadership is made up of?
Thank you. Before I respond to your question, which is a very important one, I would like to alert you also to the so-called talks about a new port that the United States is working on to provide supplies, as they say. The first question here is, why do we need a port that will need months to be built? Meanwhile, people will die because of starvation in the north of Gaza. Why do we need that while Israel could easily allow thousands of trucks of aid on the Egyptian side, and it would take them only 15 minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this.
Palestinians, to evict Palestinians. His plan of ethnic cleansing never ceased away, and he continues to dream about that act of during the last 24 hours, the Israeli army killed 14 Palestinians in the West Bank, more than 440 since 7th of October, and the Palestinian Authority could not prevent one single death of those. So why do they need more security structure? Just to serve Israel's interest. And it is interesting here what Biden said when he said that we need a Palestinian leadership that is acceptable to Israel. Did he say that we need an Israeli leadership that is acceptable to Palestinians? Of course not. The funny thing here is that the United States of America speaks about democracy everywhere, about Serbia, Russia, China, maybe Ukraine and other places, and about democratic free elections except in Palestine. They don't want us to have our right of democratically electing our leaders. And that's why the United States was not supportive of us having elections in 2021. Our view as Palestinians, and that's the Palestinian way in our opinion, is that we need to keep the right of the Palestinian people to represent themselves by sustaining the PLO. But the problem is that the leadership of the PLO is not really representative of all Palestinians. And that's why we are calling for a unified Palestinian leadership within the ranks of the PLO.
Yes.
And that's what we agreed about in Moscow in a most recent meeting of all the 14 Palestinian political forces. And we agreed on a communique that said that everybody should be allowed in the PLO, so that the PLO becomes the representative of all.
I think that is critical, because I think that the separation of Palestinian people from each other in the West Bank and in Gaza, I think it further disenfranchises them from their ability to be able to govern themselves, which is why the two-state solution concerns me, because of all of the settlements Israel has built. They are still disconnected from one another physically, and the right of way between the two places is held exclusively by Israel and the IDF. Leaving Gaza isn't an option, right? Essentially, maybe there are a couple of circumstances where people are allowed out, but effectively it's a prison camp, right? And so how are you supposed to have free and fair elections when the people that are supposed to be voting can't even congregate with one another, can't even have discourse with one another without some sort of unusual way of communication? I mean, granted, technology will hopefully help, but that's not, let's be real, it's not the best way for this all to be, especially not when we're talking about elections.
Palestinians.
Aren't there something like 700,000 settlers in the West Bank? Yeah, it's something like that. I don't know the exact numbers on that one.
Along these lines, we should have a national consensus government that would unify West Bank and Gaza Strip, prevent Israel from consolidating its occupation of Gaza, and that would be an interim government, but accepted by all political forces. An interim because it has to prepare for free democratic elections that we should have had in 2021. All the polls that came out yesterday and the polls that we had in 2020 and 2021 were showing the same thing. No single party in Palestine can get majority, and that's why we will need a unified national front and a more pluralistic democratic system. As you can see, we are talking about two different versions. The Palestinian Authority committed a big mistake by going in the direction of what the Americans want, by appointing a prime minister without consultation with all the groups that met in Moscow, and and paving the road for forming a government without national consensus. And that is, in my opinion, a big mistake, besides the fact that such a government will not be able actually to function without the acceptance of the Palestinian people.
We're facing the...
I think we're going to watch a little bit more of this. Actually, no. Let's move forward. Because I've got a bunch more stuff I want us to look at. We're already 3 hours in. This might be a 4-hour stream or longer. You can't imagine a one-state solution that treats Palestine. Well, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But I guess my point is that the two-state solution, I feel like, necessitates a great deal of land to go back to Palestinians for settlements to be unsettled, essentially, and so that Palestine isn't a fractured mess. If people can't travel freely between West Bank and Gaza, we got a problem. Okay, that's my opinion. Like in a two-state solution, if they can't do that, then there's a serious problem there in terms of democracy and how it's going to function. And for the ability for there to be unification between the two in terms of being able to agree on a government in a majoritarian sort of way. And being able, do you get what I'm saying here? I feel like I'm trying to, I don't know. I'm trying to make sense of it all. What's next? Yes. Okay. So reason why we're not going to watch that whole one is because we have another talk that I want to look at as well, and just get as many different sorts of perspectives and topics in on this particular situation. This seems to be at a real sort of pinnacle of terrible. This is from the Real News Network with Chris Hedges. Should Biden be tried for genocide crimes? This is from a day ago.
Had the effect of not having the core purpose.
Stop that. Always starting my videos.
Palestinian human rights group based in the occupied West Bank, and 8 Palestinians and U.S. citizens with relatives in Gaza. The lawsuit accuses President Joe Biden and other senior officials of being complicit in Israel's genocide in Gaza. The case is being heard in a federal court in California. Lawyers representing Biden, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin have attended the proceedings along with the plaintiffs, who accuse them of, quote, failure to prevent and complicity in the Israeli government's unfolding genocide. Since the October 7th incursion by Hamas and other resistance groups, which left some 1,200 people dead in Israel, more than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed. Thousands are missing, over 60,000 have been injured, and nearly all of the Gaza Strip's 2.3 million people have been displaced, many sleeping out in the open near the border town of Rafah. Israel's blockage of humanitarian supplies and food have caused a widespread famine. Many are dying of starvation and infectious diseases.
So if you didn't catch that, the premise of this video is the discussion of whether or not Biden should be tried for genocide crimes, including the rest of the administration. Or not, maybe not the entire rest of the administration, but I think Anthony Blinken was mentioned in this lawsuit that's currently in, I think it was federal court in California.
The PCR complaint was filed in November of last year. It charges that Biden, Blinken, and Austin, quote, have not only been failing to uphold the country's obligation to prevent a genocide, but have enabled the conditions for its development by providing unconditional military and diplomatic support to Israel. The CCR is asking the court to, quote, declare that defendants have violated their duty under customary international law as part of the federal common law to take all measures within their power to prevent Israel from committing genocide against the Palestinian people of Gaza. The CCR is also calling for the U.S. to use its influence over Israel to end the hostilities against Palestinians in Gaza. Joining me to discuss the case is Catherine Gallagher, a senior staff attorney at the Center for Constitutional Rights, and one of the plaintiffs, Ayman Najim, who's from the Gaza Strip and is currently a doctoral student of transformative social change at Saybrook University in Pasadena, California. So let's begin, before we go into the law itself, let's just begin, maybe I'll start with you, Catherine, just the facts on the ground, what we are seeing.
Yeah, no, you're all right. Palestinians need to be able to govern themselves. I think that's been my main focus when we talk about the future of the land and the government of the land. in this conflict, and yeah, without that, it's a problem. It's going to continue to be bad. We can't have this continue.
Gaza, and then we can go into how the law addresses those facts.
Well, thank you for having both of us today to talk about the case and the very, very dire and urgent situation in Gaza. What we've seen since October 7th is a complete and total assault on the entire Palestinian population in Gaza. And what we are seeing at this moment is the risk of mass death, not simply from the bombs falling, but through starvation. And this moment now at the start of Ramadan, of mass starvation, of children dying, small children and babies dying from hunger, is in fact the culmination of what was set out as policy and frankly a genocidal intention expressed clearly by senior Israeli officials as early as October 9th, when the Israeli Minister of Defense promised that the entire Gaza Strip would be subjected to a total siege with no food, no fuel, no electricity, no water. And what we've seen over
Yep, that was 2 days after October 7th.
the course of many months of bombing now is a decimation of the entire healthcare infrastructure and mass displacement.
This whole thing is a mark on humanity. I mean, granted, humanity has done quite a lot of bad things, but this is a big one.
So this death that is really everyone is at risk of, again, not from only the bombs, the vast majority of which are coming from the United States, but also from hunger. And that is not a man-made or human-made, that is not a humanitarian disaster. It is a human-made policy by Israeli officials that is bringing us to this moment of mass starvation and impending death for so many.
So, Ayman, you have obviously friends and family in Gaza. One of the things that struck me is the way the Israelis have targeted all of the cultural institutions, all the intellectual class, all the universities obliterated, been dynamited and destroyed or bombed. The targeting of the press, but talk a little bit about what you're hearing on a day-to-day basis in terms of what Palestinians are undergoing.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Thank you for having both of us. It is an honor to be here and to be interviewed by you personally. I think let's start. I think what's going on in Gaza specifically is a slow motion genocide since 17 years ago. It wasn't like yesterday or since October 7. I have lived all of my life in Gaza. I remember actually in 2014, I have to actually roam all over Gaza to find diapers to my daughter. 4 hours, a lack of electricity, lack of drinking water. We had been struggling for that for 17 years. That's why I really like, as someone who studies psychology, I like to go to the slow motion genocide and the history of settler colonialism and 75 years of ethnic cleansing, displacement, and apartheid. What's going right now is accelerated genocide, is a fast motion genocide that is the most live streamed, the most well corroborated, the most well substantiated genocide in human history. Give you some examples. For the last 100 days, I couldn't hear my mother's voice, even her prayer during Ramadan, which is very important to me. For someone who lives overseas, to hear my mother's prayer is extremely important. She lacks medication for days. I actually don't know if she is alive or not. Like, imagine like for 100 days that I have no clue what's going on in my refugee camp. But recently I got in touch with my sister-in-law in Rafah, and she has eSIM card or something like that. And actually she was looking for a tent. A tent right now is
so fucking sad. It's a chance for us to come together regardless of our difference. I do hope we can turn it into that. I really do.
Was 225,000 shekels, which I think $500. Imagine a tent that is cost like I think $25 or $30 here in the US. It costs in Gaza $500 for the one of the most impoverished people on earth, one of the most besieged and also caged enclave on human history. So what's going on right now, it is very genocidal that we are not dealing with ongoing trauma or post-traumatic stress disorder. We are dealing with genocidal trauma that it will take us at least 20 years to find ways, creative praxis or creative ways to heal the trauma that have been inflicted on us. Actually, there in our in Gaza and here, because this is live streamed everywhere.
Hold on 1 second. Okay. What do I got next? Okay, yeah, this one's a pretty quick video. This is from the UN chief, who recently called the blocking of aid to Gaza a moral outrage. Let's see what he had to say.
Nothing justifies the horrific attacks by Hamas on October the 7th. And nothing justifies the collective punishment of the Palestinian people. Now more than ever, it is time for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. A long line of blocked red relief trucks on one side of the gates, the long shadow of starvation on the other. That is more than tragic, it is a moral outrage. Any further onslaught will make things even worse. Worse for Palestinian civilians, worse for the hostages, and worse for all people of the region. All this demonstrates that it is more than time for an immediate ceasefire. I say it again. It is time for an ironclad commitment by Israel for total and unfettered access for humanitarian goods throughout Gaza. And in the Ramadan spirit of compassion, it is also time for the immediate release of all hostages.
High in the hills of the occupied
Hold
West
on. Bank. Okay. Well, we've been hearing him calling for an end to this for quite a while. Hopefully it will take at some point. You know, fingers crossed. This next one is from actually 3 days ago. I missed this. And the thing is, the woman interviewed, I've definitely seen in previous footage of extremist settlers in Israel. This interview was from 3 days ago, like I said, on CNN. And the title is, quote unquote, "That sounds like ethnic cleansing." CNN questions lead figure in Israel's settler movement. Whoa.
All right, Ben, it's my first day here. Do you have any advice?
Wait, no, don't do that.
High in the hills of the occupied West Bank, a flag flies in the face of a Palestinian village. God is king, it says. 2 young settlers guard this illegal outpost. Construction hasn't even begun, but we are not welcome.
So they're asking us to leave. They don't want to talk to us. They said they've been here for about 9 months.
I gotta say, this interview is like a huge change of pace from the way CNN's been doing coverage of Israel, so it's honestly a little bit cathartic, enjoyable, if you will, for to watch this one, because they actually do reporting, kind of.
Dotted across the landscape, more signs of the fight to assert Israeli control over Palestinian land. The Arabic names on signposts crudely erased. Under international law, the Beit Hogla settlement is illegal, but last February, the Israeli government officially recognized it along with 8 others, a move the U.S. strongly opposed. We're here because God promised us this land, Azrael Picard tells us. Now these settlers have set their sights on a new prize, one that seemed utterly impossible before October 7th. Returning to Gaza, they cheer. That is the goal
Jesus
of
Christ, it's so sick. It is so sick. The indoctrination of these kids. Talk about grooming.
Settler organization Nahala, one of more than a dozen groups now advocating for the re-establishment of Israeli settlements in Gaza. A recent promotional video even boasts that Gaza will become the next Riviera.
What is this?
Daniela Weiss is the godmother of the movement, and she's already started recruiting from the 700,000-strong settler community of Israel.
We're just arriving now at a settlement in the occupied West Bank, and we're heading to a talk that Daniela Weiss is giving to a group of people who are potentially interested.
You're right. God does make too many promises to too many people. Really causes a lot of problems. What's up, God? What's the deal?
In resettling Gaza.
We are for the land of Israel and Ben Gvir, she says. About 20 people gather in the living room of a family home. Weiss knows that for many in this community, there is deep nostalgia for Gush Katif, a block of 21 Israeli settlements that were forcibly evacuated by the IDF in 2005 when Israel left the Gaza Strip. This is the vision of Gaza, she says. You see all the nucleus groups. A map has already been drawn up, with 6 groups laying claim to different parts of the enclave.
So they've just been handing out these little booklets.
This is insane. They're treating Gaza like it's a timeshare. This is this is next level ethnic cleansing.
Say, people of Israel, return home, and then underneath, a call to return to the settlements of Gaza.
One of the organizers tells the group they have a representative flying to Florida to raise money. Nahala gets support from a number of groups in the U.S., including AFSI, Americans for a Safe Israel, which co-sponsored a recent webinar on the return to Gush Katif, even as the Biden administration has cracked down on settlements in the West Bank.
There is a very strong support from very prominent, from very, I would say, wealthy people, wealthy Jews.
In the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Can you name any names?
No.
So fucking quiet.
No.
Back at her home in Kedumim settlement, Weiss tells us she's already enrolled 500 families.
Wow.
I believe have on my
500 families. This lady is a problem.
Names of people who say, enlist me, enroll me, I want to join. I want to join the groups that are going to settle Gaza.
I have to ask you, though, because we're sitting here talking and we're listening to the
Yeah,
call
I'm listening
to
to
prayer.
it. I hope you are listening to
Which
it.
is a reminder, I think, of the people who live here, but also the people who live in Gaza. What happens to them in this vision of this new settlement with Jewish settlers even in Gaza City?
What I think about Gaza, the Arabs of Gaza lost the right to be in Gaza on the 7th of October. Yes, I do hear the mosque. I do hear the the prayer. Things were different.
Yeah, you heard that, folks. I think they don't have the right to be in Gaza. So where do they have the right to be? I'll bet she doesn't have a very good solution for it.
Until the 7th of October. No Arab, I'm speaking about more than 2 million. Were different mosque. I do hear the prayer, things were different until the 7th of October. No Arab, I'm speaking about more than 2 million Arabs. They will not stay there. We, Jews, will be in Gaza.
That sounds like ethnic cleansing.
Okay. The Arabs want to annihilate the state of Israel. So you can call them monsters. You can call them
Wow.
cleansing of Jews.
You can call many things pretty much anything you want. Doesn't make it real or acceptable. Good God. You can call them monsters. Okay.
We are not doing to them. They are doing to us. I couldn't make it clearer when I said that myself as a person is very occupied with something in my life. Until the 7th of October, I didn't have plans of returning to Gaza. It's clear. I'm not interested in cleansing.
What is clear is that Weiss's views, traditionally seen as extreme in Israel, have become more popular since October 7th. In late January, jubilant crowds packed an auditorium in Jerusalem for the Victory of Israel conference, calling for the resettlement of Gaza. A poll that month from the Jewish People Policy Institute found that 26% of Israelis advocate the reconstruction of the Gush Katif settlements after the war is over. Among supporters of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing coalition government, that number jumps to 51%. Several ministers were present at the conference, including far-right Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu.
Jesus Christ.
In a rare interview with Western media, he tells us his political decisions are guided by the Torah.
Oh, good. That's good. It's a good way to base all your decisions just on one thing, a book written thousands of years ago.
In here?
Yes. Yes.
And that settlements in Gaza are needed to prevent another October 7th.
The language of the land says that wherever there is a Jewish settlement, there will be more security. Doesn't mean there will be absolute security, but there will be more security.
Why would you advocate for something that many would say is illegal, is immoral, is not supported by the majority of Israelis, and is also very harmful to Israel in terms of its international standing?
Why do you think it's immoral to take land from someone who wants to kill me? Why is it immoral to take my land, which my ancestors lived there, which I've even given up, to someone who slaughters, rapes, and murders me? What is more immoral than that?
Netanyahu has called resettling Gaza, quote, an unrealistic goal, and most Israelis agree. But that hasn't stopped scores of IDF soldiers fighting there from posting videos calling for a return to Gush Katif. For many supporters of the settler movement, what was once a distant fantasy is now a fervent dream. Clarissa Ward, CNN, the occupied West.
Oh my God. When CNN is recognizing all of these things, we've come to at least some sort of pinnacle, I feel like, of all of this, some sort of apex, if you will. Because CNN has been doing their damnedest to not cover this in an even slightly unbiased and/or what do you call it? Even-handed way. What are we doing next? Oh, is that where we've come to now? Interesting. Just gotta do one thing here. go. Palestinians have no voice in power or media. BCAT is right. Okay, that was a tough stream, but I got something here I think might pick up your spirits. Not sure whether or not you've heard the news, but something has happened. It's very, very sad. I think we have to look at this and a tiny amount of detail. Wait, hold on. Why am I missing a video from my list? Mother. Oh, chat. I'm trying my best. Yes, the space CIA has struck again. In what order should I do this? I guess I'll do it in this order. We're not going to watch all of this. But I am going to direct your attention to the screen in front of you. This is a tweet from old Jeremy Boring, Mr. Boring, if you will. And as you can see, it's very sad, but Daily Wire and Candace Owens have ended their relationship. Ugh, do I have a sad sound shot for this? No, I don't. So I'm just going to do this.
Cacao. Cacao.
Cacao. And now, let's see. Let's do a little deep dive into this. And I guess we'll do it in this order. Well, maybe we'll do like, we'll go back and forth. Yes, Mr. Boringelli. Wait, was that a Destiny / Jeremy Boring joke? That was hilarious. If that's what that was impressive. That was an impressive take. All right, this next video, if I have this lined up right, this next video is from the Daily Wire, entitled Candace's First Day at the Daily Wire. And honestly, I feel like we should look at this thumbnail, because this thumbnail is amazing. Can you see it, chat? Wait, no, you can't see anything. Oh, god damn it, it's tiny. No. Here, yeah. Candace's first day. Oh boy. Look, there's so much opportunity here, so much Oh, look at the fresh faces on everybody. Oh, God. Wait, when was this from? How many years ago? It's from 2 years ago. How time flies. Okay, let's watch this.
All right, Ben, it's my first day here. Do you have any advice for me?
So here's the thing. Never go in the dressing room when Knowles is in there.
Keep your back to the wall.
By the way, that apparently is a theme. Something I was unaware of, but apparently Michael Knowles need to be told.
Don't be creepy.
Because he'd be doing some creepy stuff apparently.
Do you have any advice for me?
So here's the thing. Never go in the dressing room when Knowles is in there.
Keep your back to the wall, and never be alone in a room with Michael Knowles. The guy's an animal. He's a total animal.
He has this horrible habit. I'm not lying to you.
Somehow this music that they have is fucking perfect. It's got like a real circus vibe to it.
Of just taking off his shirt randomly, and it is a terror to everyone surrounding.
Wait, I forgot about this. We gotta go back. We gotta hear that.
I'm not lying to you. Of just taking off his shirt randomly, and it is a terror to everyone surrounding him.
I've heard this several times.
Yeah, no, of course.
They're on to us immediately.
Yeah. Do you see Candace? She like genuinely looks scared of Michael. I feel like my butthole clenches whenever I look at Michael as well.
Matters.
You're right. In general, stay away from Knowles. I mean, like...
We all know it. It's just one of those secrets, just like Matt Lauer, you know? It's like...
Yeah.
This is a fun work environment. Michael Knowles is kind of like a predator.
Don't be creepy.
Yeah, fair point.
What is the best piece of advice that you can give me?
Stay the hell out of my way.
I think that's actually genuinely good advice. You know, you don't want to get caught up in the body odor I assume Matt Walsh has going on, and or somehow get caught up in that fucking beard of his. None of that seems good. Plus, he also needs to be told.
Don't be creepy.
I am new to Nashville, so what does it do on weekends?
Listen to your screaming child.
Bring your kids to a playground and just spend the whole time counting them to make sure one of them doesn't get kidnapped.
Are there any
family values?
Aren't I a good guy?
Daily Wire inside jokes that I need to be aware of?
Michael Knowles.
There's this really hilarious joke that Ben...
Dude, it's pretty clear that you know, it seems like it might be a bit, but I think there's got to be some real truth to this Michael Knowles situation. I think this guy's doing some real creepy stuff.
To a playground and just
like I think it might be like Crowder level creepy.
Spend the whole time counting them to make sure one of them doesn't get kidnapped.
Are there any Daily Wire inside jokes that I need to be aware of?
Michael Knowles.
There's this really hilarious joke that Ben wants to fire me.
That's the punchline to every joke. Anybody says knock knock, Michael
Knowles.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's not real. Please. I have a kid.
I'm pretty sure that it might be real because Michael Knowles is like he's like a taller, like fully grown, or like at least a medium grown Ben Shapiro. He's clearly shorter than Candace, but you know what I mean? Like Ben Shapiro is even shorter. I'm pretty sure they on all these shots they like zoomed in on him so we didn't see just how short he was.
If you were famous for something else, what would you be famous for?
I'm an excellent whistler.
Really?
Oh
Yes.
wow. That's amazing. Who knew that Ben had cool talents like whistling? Oh my god. My whole worldview has changed now that I know Ben Shapiro can whistle. Sorry.
Spaghetti alla carbonara.
If you were famous for something else, what would you be famous for?
Something else. I'm not.
I don't know. Hanging out in your car and making weird videos about how the age of consent is too high.
Don't be creepy.
In the first place. That's the first problem.
A good proper spaghetti.
Let's be real. That's some of the worst whistling I've ever heard. Let's hear that again, because wow. Once again, it's a zoom shot on Ben because Daily Wire doesn't want us to realize Ben is like 5'2".
I'm not famous in the first place. That's the first problem.
A good proper spaghetti alla carbonara is the pasta,
Candace is probably wearing heels. Well, I'm pretty sure Ben is standing on a literal stool.
Or the guanciale or the bacon or whatever. Egg, cheese, pepper. That's it. You're done.
That's not even my weirdest skill. My weirdest skill is that I can actually play these things on my shakes.
Do you know what skill Ben does not have? Making his wife wet. Ooh. Thank you.
What?
But no cream, no peas. Some people do this. It's ridiculous.
That's definitely not a skill.
What about you? Good answer.
I don't know. I really don't know what I'd be famous for.
Want to circle back?
Yeah, I'll see.
I'll circle back.
If you could add anyone to Mount Rushmore, who would it be and why? Michael Knowles.
No.
Oh, I thought I took the words out of your mouth there.
I would add Billy Mays.
First of all, I hate Mount Rushmore. I think Mount Rushmore.
Who? Who the fuck? What? Who the fuck is Billy Mays? Wait, hold on. Is that the fucking Is that the infomercial guy? Hold on, I gotta look this shit up. Billy Mays. Yeah, he's the fucking infomercial guy. Are you kidding me? Why the fuck would you put up that? Although, I'll be honest, I feel like Matt Walsh is definitely trying to have the Billy Mays beard. He doesn't have it, but he's trying desperately hard. By the way, if you don't know who Billy Mays is, let me just, hold on, let me give you this picture. God damn it, I gotta find a way to switch between without doing that. But it's really the only way. It's this guy. It's this fucking guy right here. So yeah, that's who Matt Walsh wants on the phone. Added, okay. Why? Didn't he? I thought there was like some conspiracy around him or some shit that happened. Whatever.
Is an idol. I don't like idols. So I have a very Calvin Coolidge feeling about Mount Rushmore. Calvin Coolidge was very divided about Mount Rushmore, which is why I put Calvin Coolidge on Mount
Calvin
Rushmore.
Coolidge.
He just had a great beard,
really.
and I'm told that I have a similar beard to Billy Mays.
So you just put him on Mount Rushmore
Yeah.
because he has a good beard, and you think that would probably come through on the rocks.
Wow.
Capitalist.
Somehow I knew it. Somehow I knew it was this weird, like, love of Billy Mays' beard and wanting to be Billy Mays and, like, inside of Billy Mays. And I think Billy Mays is dead, but, like, inside his dead corpse.
Don't be creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. That's good. I would add Donald Trump because it would be really fun stuff to watch the left try to tear it down.
They would tear it down.
But like how?
immediately.
Watching them try to do it? Because usually they just, put ropes around the statues and pull them down. It just would be fun to watch it as an Olympic event.
This would be like the North by Northwest, remember, where they're hanging off the...
Yeah,
North
yeah,
By-
exactly, yeah. What was the worst job you ever had?
Worst job I ever had. Well, I was a professional actor for a few years. That
Were
was pretty.
you?
I was.
Actors suck.
Pretty sure everything that, and Knowles, what's his name? Michael. Everything Michael's ever done is garbage. Hold on, let me look at what Michael's been in. We gotta figure this out. What has Michael Knowles done? Slappy the Dummy? Yeah, we discussed this. You know how bad the stuff that Michael Knowles did was? It doesn't come up when you search it on Google. So, I think that's good enough. I don't even need to look further into. Although later, I'm tempted to definitely find that shit and see just how bad his acting really is.
Not you, but like...
I worked at a law firm immediately out of law school. That job was so bad that when I quit that job...
This video makes me so sad, guys. They were so... You could see they had so much optimism and excitement. Finally, they had some diversity at the Daily Wire. A woman... and a black. Oh my god. The excitement. Oh man. We gotta do a whole video about this, guys. This is our first day with Candace. Candy, oh. Come on, Candy.
I went into the senior associate and I said, I'm unhappy, I hate this, I'm depressed. I explained all my reasons.
Maybe that's just because you suck as a person and not because of your job.
And after I explained, he goes, you're totally right, maybe I should leave. And then I ended up in the boss's office and I was explaining why I was leaving. And he was like, you just understand that you're never gonna make as much money as you
how
make
good
right
does it
now.
feel now?
I have been wanting to send my tax returns for at least a decade.
I'm such a loser for saying this, but I
That's hilarious. He's been wanting to send his tax returns in for a decade. Oh my god. The comedy. Wow.
enjoyed all of my jobs. Actually, my favorite job ever was nannying. There's nothing like...
You know, I think we gotta do this again. Hold on, we gotta go back and look at this. Just to remind us. Oh yeah. The Daily Wire and Candace Owens. I guess they've ended their relationship. Whoopsies.
The challenge of children, and so I just really got into it.
One of my best jobs I ever had, I was a Subway sandwich artist. You see, and it's so you love kids, so you like nanny. I love hoagies.
If you could have someone like a personal assistant...
That's so relatable. He eats sandwiches.
...follow you around all the time, what would you have them do?
Bring me green juices. Kale is actually really good. Even kale, I like to eat kale salad. But I actually like kale. It's like that weird Hollywood
No, you're
trend
lying.
that started.
I wonder how tall the box that Ben Shapiro's standing is on.
Kale, this is a lie.
It's so good.
I don't
You've had
believe
it? What would you have them do?
Not anything in particular, just to have them obey me every second of the day.
All the time. I would probably have them go away. I don't like it. I don't want people in my business.
Let me just say,
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. You know, that tracks. You know, it doesn't seem like Michael Knowles wants anybody near him, considering the way he's always behaving. Oh, God. All right. I think we've seen enough of this train wreck. Wait, is there another part that I want to see that was fucking funny? I can't remember. It's funny, but it's like freaking 16 minutes long, and there's no way I want to watch this whole thing. But it just felt like it was worth a laugh. Never heard anyone call a hoagie a sandwich. That's fucking weird. A hoagie is a sandwich. It's bread with food inside of it. Sure. Is Candace Owens pretty? Yeah, but she's a despicable person. Really presents a bit of a problem there for me personally. Oh, he went to Jared? Oh my god. Crazy. Alright. Well, I guess that's it, chat. Been trying to end the streams with sort of upbeat, funny things rather than ending it on genocide. Only seems fair for all of you viewers. Hope you enjoyed that. Well, it was nice to have a little weekend stream with you folks. Hope you enjoyed yourselves while looking at all this doom with me. Tomorrow's Sunday Fun Day. Let's see if we can live up to the name. Till I see you then, you stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. What, you thought I forgot? No way. How could I possibly forget the Galactic patrons who helped make this stream possible? Gabby and Aaron W. Our two current Galactic producers. Write those names down, folks. You too can become a Galactic patron by just spending a few dollars a month. You get all sorts of Galactic benefits. You know what? Because it's the weekend, I'll play a little music and let you all hang out and chat for just a little bit longer.